let me communicate with these socials. Yo, what's up, Slumped? Welcome, welcome, my friend. How are you? How have you been? Yo, Vibey, welcome, welcome. How's everyone? Yeah, I like try to get to Twitter. I have like a Twitter tab open. I still have not like my brain is not connected that like X logo to being Twitter. It looks so generic. I miss my Twitter baby blue. Officially gamer. Yo, what's up, AI? What's up, Fizzy? Hello, everyone. G Doctor. Hello, hello. How's everyone's weekend been? Herbal. We have those. Well, I'm glad you chose a color that, because we're finishing up our laundry this evening. I need to wash the rest of these headbands. So I'm glad you chose a color that, I haven't worn in a bit. Just came back from vacation? That sounds super hype. Hopefully it was very, relaxing. And very enjoying. Very enjoying. I hope I hope you enjoyed it. I don't want you to dox yourself or anything, but I hope you had a good time. Yo, what's up, son? What's up, gamer? MVP of RSAC. Honestly, y'all all had really great plays. I can't have a single MVP, but let's just say it wasn't me. There were some games I had really good coolers, but I have to go back and like look. That was like the one thing. Like, I don't know. I don't really like if I know that I'm like having a bad tournament, which I don't think I had like a bad tournament, but it certainly wasn't like great. I think, you know, over time I can definitely tell if like I reel it in if I know everyone else is like doing their thing. Like I can kind of read the room and understand what is needed of me. I do wish that in some of the later rounds, especially when we played against like the next time that I watch especially Zap players, but just short range shooters in general, I need to really work on fighting against like double mid-range and also sometimes just like buckets and stuff. Like when we're both fighting for space. Like I can't take the fight head on, but I'm trying to like understand like how like what's the most I can fight for while like feasibly staying alive and like staying safe. Because there was a lot of like that's the only time I actually felt really bad. I was like truly shitting the bed when we played against like a lot of mid range. Yeah, Nautilus and Wipers specifically. I really wanted to fight for her space better. But anyways, the point I was trying to make, even though I wasn't doing that great in certain spots, like again, I didn't feel like bad or down. I think, especially in tournaments, solo queue sometimes can grind you, can whittle you down. But at least in tournaments, I can keep a level enough mental not to like boom and not want to play anymore. But it was very nice of X-Ray to say good things about my coolers. It gave me the, instead of just being at like a very normal mindset, it kept me like inspired. So I definitely appreciate him for that. And even on the broadcast, certain people were, they were more talking cooler generally, but it helps just reinforce that whole process and everything. But it was fun. It was fun. Are you making the SAC reviews? Yeah, we could. I should at least save them. I haven't really played since SAC, but I should at least save them, and then certain pieces we can go through. So I need to go back and watch mid-range stuff. But some of that I need to watch other people play, but I could potentially go over them. Yo, what's up, Pekka? Huge rewind stream once every 1,000 years. It feels like that. It feels like that. So many gamers. All the gamers are here. 1,000-year journey to rewind catching up with the god. Subway to a special power? Yeah, I was thinking about potentially changing the build. I'm too lazy to change gear. I'm saying what other people are doing, but yeah, I could totally, I could revisit some of that. What's the build right now? It's just something I took from clicks, from like a zones tournament. Usually for playing in like Rainmaker or something, I'll switch to like a comeback or something to have more like forward power, but nothing too fancy. But I haven't really evaluated anything since the tournament. Yo, what's up, Celeste? Hello, hello. No more double splash? Yeah, I just like it because every I'm so lazy with builds, but like I made these shoes and I'm like, okay, every time that I run stealth jump, like it's just nice to have. But yeah, realistically, I probably could even have potentially 2 ink resistance up, but yeah, I don't need a sub resistance in most cases, truthfully. But I don't know. I think sometimes it like randomly helps with like fizzy bombs and everything, but realistically, you shouldn't need it. At least in like the current meta, like you're saying. Amy's new nickname? Uh-oh. Wait, does Amy have a new nickname? I've been good. Brain rot. Minecraft all day? It's 2 AM now. My brain's cooked. Holy. Sounds like you had a good time though. But yeah, let me get some coffee real quick. And we'll jump into new reviews. I think Vibey is the first one. So let me get this downloaded. Get the thing up to date, and then we'll jump into it. Okay, yeah, I need some time to just like play the game. I've just been busy, and when I haven't been busy, I've been tired. And when I haven't been either of those, I've been trying to do some stuff for videos. It's been on and off. Alright. Okay, I think in general I usually just use the name on the So X rank. I said it was around 1796.8. I appreciate that level of preciseness. And they're looking to get it to about 2200 right now. In the notes they mentioned want to learn how to crab tank more efficiently, get better at zones. And they mentioned that zones is their worst map, or like worst mode and lowest X power. Had to be more effective with crab tank, and yeah, just looking for general zones tips. On the 1900, congrats. Hey, what's up, X-Ray? So we've already been doing a bit of climbing. So my lowest, I gotcha. Poor Splat Zones gets a bad rap. And then we're here. This is us. But we'll go through this real quick and then all that fun stuff. But 1 second. I got oat milk for my coffee. It's so good. I love oat milk. The one thing about coffee specifically that it's a little bit unfortunate is that usually I use milk to like cool it down a little bit, but oat milk doesn't cool it down as much. But it's still really good. I think next weekend I'm gonna try my best to like make my own oat milk. Because apparently you just need like a strainer and some oats and like put some flavoring, like a vanilla or something in it. And also this weekend, my wife and I, we bought like one of the like Disney castles, like sorry, the Lego Disney castles, and a little bit of time, like every night we've been slowly like working on building it. So like right now we have like the base of it, and we started putting, I mean, they give you a book to go step by step, but I haven't like actually like built Legos in so long. It's so satisfying. Like it's fun to make, but the other part of it is like organizing everything, like because all the pieces come in bags, like taking them out of bags and just like placing them together. Oh man, Castle Showcase. Maybe when we get done. My wife's been taking pictures like every like layer that we do, like when we kind of stop and stuff. We've been taking pictures, so I'm scared if I pick it up and move it, it's just gonna explode, and then she's gonna be very sad, and I don't want to make her sad. So it's sitting on the other side of the room. Forgot I can record games. Yeah, I'm glad to see you got your setup, Beb. Oh yeah, real quick, let me just catch up with everything. Yeah, it's up. Like the special power up is really solid. 3 hours making sugarcane and bamboo farms? I have no idea what, I mean, I know what that is, but I can't appreciate the work because I am not a Minecrafter. But 3 hours sounds like a lot of time. Hopefully it makes your Minecrafting life easier in the future. So we can say it's worth. I forgot how to play Compass. Start throwing hands with anything. I feel like I get no value from crabs. Gotcha. Yeah, we'll definitely, you put a lot of emphasis on crabs, so we'll definitely go through it. I'm fighting anything with the like the thing I do when fighting other people. They also have aimbot. You play a losing matchup, it complicates things. Yeah. I am working through certain pieces of solo queue and fighting and stuff. People have already like figured it out, but there's like a certain part to the fighting and the setup before the fight that I really want to elaborate on, but I'm still like working through it myself. It's like one of the, not final, because I'm still not a great player and I'll continue to need to improve on things. But probably for like years, it's been kind of back of my mind, like the thing that I probably would get the most value out of for like trying to resolve. And it's like, it's just the whole, it's the whole flow around like taking fights and stuff. Some of it is like masking your movement. Some of it is, you know, the timing of when you pop out. Some of it is the fights you decide to take. There were some moments during the tournament that I actually had really nice flanks. Most of them were inconsequential, but there was like there's an ink block game specifically that felt really nice. It was like at the very end. Also, there was like a clip that wasn't really a clip, but when we were fighting Rabid in groups on Sturgeon TC, there was like a moment where I like pushed. I don't know. I knew that they were in an awkward spot, and I felt like I chose like the correct time to push them. And even though the clip itself wasn't that impressive, there was a lot of pieces when it came to like the paint that I put down and the pressure that I applied that was like really, really strong. But yeah, just raw fighting power is something I really need to work on. Because there's part of my brain that's like, oh man, like if I'm like, I've always had this like naive attitude where it's like, oh man, if I'm just like using my brain and I'm just like the smartest player and I understand what I should be doing in every situation, like I can avoid that. Like I almost see like I don't know why. Sometimes I feel like I think about fighting as like a crutch. But over time, you come to realize that fighting is a necessity at certain points. Just fighting is a crutch. But that's a part of my game that I just never has been good. I think some of it is not really self-consciousness, but some of it is the fact that let's be real, my aim is not good. But there's a lot of other things that I don't think about that I need to get better at. And when I watch other people, like top level players play, I respect a lot of their decision making, but taking fights and winning good fights, or like pushing advantage, it's not even really taking fights, it's more just pushing advantages, which a lot of times will lead to like easy picks. That is part of the formula as well. So I don't know. It's my own world that I'm working with, but I hope that I can get to a point where I feel more confident answering that, so I can kind of like talk through it with you all. So I think it's really, especially for people that think about this game more as a strategy game and less as like a shooter. I think they could get a lot of value, because there's probably other people that are kind of stuck in the same way that I am, where I just play like too honest in a lot of spots. Glue it. That's what I heard. Someone said, I just broke something on my chair. Hopefully it doesn't explode. I'll figure it out later. Anyways, yeah, I heard that you're supposed to glue this, like when you do the layers, you're supposed to glue them. Because I was just talking to that with my wife yesterday, because I'm like, if we have to like ever move or something, like what do we do with this thing? That's what she was saying. She's like, Oh yeah, everyone like glues it together, but I'm too lazy. I don't have the setup for it. I'm too scared I'm gonna make a mistake and I can't unmake the mistake. But no, you're totally right. Most random question: why do people keep forcing haunt on backline weapons? I'm not really sure. I'm gonna be honest. I've seen it, but I don't really know. I think it's like maybe because it's just like always active. I have to also see the weapons because I don't know how often people are like. Because like how often is a backline dying to enable haunt, you know? But it could also just be one of those things where like you don't really need anything else, and if you're not going to run if you're not going to run like a respawn, like maybe it's because people are like feeling less value out of respawn Punisher in the current meta. I'm sure there's a backliner that could give you a better answer, but yeah. I haven't totally figured out the match buns up, which is part of the reason I find myself in the worst situations imaginable. Viper is something I'm more confident in, but it takes real difference. Oh, a real diff, sorry, to win. Yeah. I think there's a certain fluidity. I think for me, that's like the biggest thing. Is like just being very fluid, always. Run mobility. I don't know. Maybe they just like people might. Some of it might just be testing, like they're just testing new things, and the feeling of being able to see people through walls like makes you feel incredible. It could just be something that makes people's brains happy, and maybe it's not the highest value, but I don't know. I can understand a little bit, and I'm sure there's a better answer that's more complete, but I can see where they're coming from. I don't see it as being the most valuable thing, but it's something I have no weight on, and I could totally be wrong, and I would love to be convinced otherwise. But yeah, I'm not sure. I can't give you a great answer. Set on tower. I will say that I had a lot of really nice doubles to like break open the map, which is something I usually don't do. And that's part of me figuring out of like not playing as honest is, and it's not even like honest play. It's just like moving forward when you have that space. But I feel like this bit of a safety net as like a zap where I'm like, oh, I shouldn't be doing that because, you know, like someone else should be doing that, even though like I'm in the perfect spot to move forward. And in a couple of the matches, I just had like that perfect spot to move forward and actually committed to it. And it was just like huge value. I'm like, yeah, I should probably do this more. I asked people how to improve my mechanics so many times. It's always like play solo. I'm just clueless. Doing it for 2 years. It's a good question. I mean, part of mechanics is that it does require like a sharpening of them. Like you should try to be consistent with whatever aim drills or whatever formula you have for when you're practicing. That definitely helps. But I'm not sure how much of it is your mechanics and how much of it is like decision making. There's a blurry line between like using your mechanics versus like there's so many micro decisions in terms of like how you play certain situations that make like massive differences. It's a hard question to answer because I think mechanics get thrown around as a very take care, G-Doc, though. Have a good night. But yeah, I think that there's people use mechanics as a buzzword so that they don't have to elaborate further. I think there's more specific things that people can improve on. The only thing I will say personally, because I say that my mechanics are bad, and okay, mechanics mean so many little things. It's hard. This is too much of a question. Like I love the question, but I've already rambled and I need to get to the review, and I could literally spend like another 2 hours just like talking about like what it means by mechanics. The one thing that I would say is that if you feel like your aim is bad, like if you're specifically talking about your aim with mechanics, and not like, oh, I'm losing fights, but like I literally feel like I can't aim at them, I would really, really recommend lowering your sensitivity. Like I've right now I'm at minus 1.5 for my motion. And I think that it's really been helpful. Like everyone always says 5.5 if you're like a short range shooter. I've never been someone that plays a high sensitivity in games. Generally, this is like lower than what I would normally play, but this game also doesn't have like auto aim stuff, so it's just like a different feel than other games that I've played in the past. But yeah, definitely don't. If you have a super high sensitivity, I think 5 is just bait. There's a lot of forgiveness in this game because you don't have to like aim for the head. But just play +3 +5. That's crazy. Also lowering the stick. So one thing that has helped me is that I use, like, when I'm moving from target to target, I'll use sticks in coordination with my motion in order to be able to move faster and not feel like a lower sensitivity is hindering what I can be doing. If that makes sense. So it's definitely tough, but there's a lot of things you can do. And again, with your posture, like your hand posture is like, I don't know, it matters so much. I've been so just trying, I've been trying so hard because like when you're playing the game, you don't really think about what your hands are doing, but I've been trying my hardest to keep things consistent. And like, I know some people will like play the game with the controller like up in front of them like this. And so like they're not restricted with movements in any ways. I mean, they usually do like this like truck driver is usually like the orientation that you have the controller in. But if you have your hand suspended in the air, like you're not, because a lot of times if I keep the controller in my lap, like traditionally how people do when they play the game, your wrist movements will get restricted. So like I've gotten to the point where I like slightly elevate like my wrist or like just barely touching my lap, but it doesn't restrict my movement. And that's felt like that's been the best balance between a better range of motion and not having the controller suspended in the air, because I feel like I'm always someone that's like playing a video game in like a 90s movie or TV show or something, where people just like have their controller in the air and they're like screaming and stuff. But yeah, I mean, obviously whatever works for you. There's really talented people that have it fully suspended, but I don't know. There's little things like that can really make a difference, and I think why people feel like they should have a higher sensitivity. For some people, I do think that they think of 5.5 as like a badge of honor almost. Like, man, I'm so cool because I have like 5.5 sensitivity. But if you can like peel past that, I think it can be very beneficial to change stuff around if you feel like your mechanics are like really, really bad. But I played 5.5 for a while, and like it just, for me, it was like inconsistency. Sometimes it felt okay, and sometimes it just felt really bad. If I ran Haunts to be, yeah, I need to hurry up, so I'm not going to elaborate on anything. Or you basically see through walls. You'd be dead if I could actually see you, but tracking's decent enough to where it doesn't. Don't bother wasting gear. Fair. You need to die to use it. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. It feels weird, but I'd be interested in another perspective of people that actually use it and how they feel about it. But I also think the community as a whole just has no idea like what to do with a charger in their game. Playing against it, playing with it. I don't think people like fully know. +1 shooters, -1 spotting, -3 charger. It seems pretty reasonable. I played +5 charger. Yeah, that's crazy. My 6 been at +5 since the beginning of time. Yeah, it just depends on like what. That's the thing. Like when you play a lower sensitivity, you're using your stick differently than with like a ridiculous sensitivity. Like if you're playing on 5 sensitivity for motion, you don't really need user rate stick, so it can be on a higher sense. But if you are using a lower sensitivity, you actually like having some sort of fine-tuned control over like what you're looking at. So you like using the stick to help you switch from target to target. Like having the lower sense helps quite a bit. Yo, what's up, sons? Talking about sensitivity? Yeah, I love creating drama. Two sons with the same name color. The goats. For real. Can't tell who's who. Alright, we'll get into it. I'm so sorry. Appreciate everyone's patience. I appreciate the combo, but at a certain point I need to stop myself. So, zones on this map. As a splash, there are a couple of ways that you can play the map. So in like neutral, when both teams are kind of fighting for mid, you can sit here and just get good general like central paint around. It also gives you some abilities to potentially move forward into these different directions. You can also play on top of the actual mid pillar as well and poke at people. And it just allows you to, like, this is generally like a decent position for you to be in. Not that you're sitting out in the open, but it's like generally in this mid area. It can help so that you can get paint. You can rotate to either side. You can push forward if you need to. If you need to get a crab out, if you can, it's a little bit greedy to crab top mid, but if you have the ability to do so, that's great. So that's one way. If you already have like good painters, which in this game, you're kind of the painter. So I would probably take a more central approach. That's not to say you only go for the central approach, but the other thing that I like doing is splash, especially if you need to retake, is if you can drop down here, like you can get a lot of paint in this area. You can get a lot of paint in front of you here. You can use this area up here as height advantage. And when you're ready to crab, you can either crab on top of here, you can crab here, you can crab over here. But like playing this left side isn't bad either, but I think the more responsible play in this game is to take a more central approach until something breaks and you're able to move forward. Switch is no good paint color, real. Shield mode? Did I say shield mode? I don't know what I just said. Sorry. I don't think I did, but maybe something I said sounded like that. Oh, on Twitch? Isn't that like... I think that's if you're like getting rated or something. Like if you're getting like hate rated, because I was like I mean, people probably still do it, but like I remember that was like a topic of interest because it was happening to a lot of people. Like people were getting specifically targeted for very fucked up reasons. And I think I could be wrong. I thought the shield mode was like super strict moderation to avoid them ruining the stream, basically. Stops follow botting, gotcha. Yo, what's up, Cactus? Welcome, welcome, welcome. But yeah, the thing with crab, and it'll be nice to have some examples as we go through this game, but part of using crab is understand, like, part of it is like, I want to find a pick, I want to find value, I want to get, I want to get splats. Like you can wipe a whole team with crab, like that's the highest of the highs. But on a very general level, your goal with crab is to prevent the enemy from being able to set up in a spot that hurts your team. So sometimes instead of sometimes getting focusing your attention on a less priority target with crab is going to, chill vibe. Thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate it. But yeah, in certain cases, knowing what you should be using your crab for throughout the match is going to be really important. And that's where you kind of need to look at your team comp, look at the enemy team comp. I talk about it a lot, and like we were talking about chargers. Like in certain cases, like if your team doesn't have an answer to a charger, you probably should be focusing. Like you can't be as selfish. In certain games, if you have good specials, you can be more selfish with your crabs and finding some value. from any place can be enough for what your team needs. But in certain cases, depending on what your overall team comp is, like if y'all played against a charger and you had no answers to it, your responsibility as Crab should be able to like deal with it. So when we look at the enemy team, there isn't anything too specific that we're going to be looking at that we're like looking to target generally. If any of these are using tri-strikes, like that's an opportunity for us to potentially punish them because they're like stuck. One thing I will say is that there's a lot of Crab hate over the last couple of patches. There's a lot of tools that do a good job of punishing people that want to stop your Crab. I think Kraken is probably one of the biggest examples, especially in when you watch a lot of Japanese gameplay. They prioritize and they give Kraken a lot more value than I think we do in the West. And part of it in the current meta is because it does a really good job of punishing crabs, and it does a really good job of punishing inkjets, like the inkjet landings. Sorry, like inkjet landing. It can punish Zipcaster landing. And on top of that, there's other modes where, like, you know, obviously like Kraken and Clan Blitz, for example, is really strong. But yeah, there's a lot of crab hate, so we need to be a little bit careful. Tri-strikes can be very annoying. I don't really know how. I haven't played enough of the new patch to really think about what to factor Super Chump in with all that. I don't think it's too bad of a deal. But when we're using our crabs, we have to make sure, because if this person's just holding their Kraken and like we know that they're sitting around mid somewhere, we don't want to just pop crab here, because they'll pop their Kraken and they just like target us and then we lose value. So there's a little bit of like mind games of understanding that some people on this team, you may need to stop them. And in certain cases, they may use their tools to potentially like, or to purposefully stop you. Because like Kraken, for example, it can't really deal with a wave or a reef slider. It can't really do anything about a wave breaker. I can't really do a ton with the Trizuka. It can, but it's like not super high value. And it doesn't do a great job for covering the zone. So if I'm this Kraken roller, I'm probably looking at saving my Kraken to negate the value of your crab. So there's a couple of different ways that you have to think about, like why you're using crab, or like what other people are going to try to do to stop using it. Buff Super Chump's good for initiating. Yeah, I definitely think Super Chump's definitely very strong, but yeah. Anyways, we'll get into it so we can see some examples and better understand what's happening. And I'm gonna let this opening play out, and then we'll kind of talk piece by piece to it. All right. I think we're about to win this fight. All right. That's enough of a starting point to kind of talk through this opening. So the first thing that I want to mention with your opening, as a splash player, you need to know how you're getting crab at the beginning. You should have... Yeah, take care, son. Take care. Nice stuff on the tournament this weekend. Go over CC games. Will do. So the first thing that during your rollout, we should be very disciplined on what we're looking to do with our crab, or how do we get our crab. And part of that, like dropping to this left side is one way that I like getting crab. Because when we drop, like when we start moving left, we can paint this area over here. We can get some paint over here. We can get paint over here, and we can also get paint here. And like by this point, we should be able to get a crab somewhere. And like within the first 12 to 15 seconds, we should have a crab, like no problem at all. The other thing that you can do is like you're totally fine like moving toward mid, but as you're going, like you're doing a lot of like just random squid rolling for no reason other than like having a good time. And I'm not here to stop you from having a good time, you know, but it goes back to like, you know, everything that we do in Splatoon over time, part of continuing to improve at the game is like everything that you do should ideally be deliberate. Sometimes it'll be based off of intuition, and in the moment you can't necessarily say why you're doing specific things. but the squid rolling it feels like just a waste of time. And, you know, when it comes to improvement, you know, sit in lobby or sit in the recon mode and do the squid rolls. But during this time, either just swim. Like if you want to get to mid very fast, then just paint and just swim and like get to mid as fast as you can. But in the meantime, like as you're swimming, you can get like a little bit of paint on like the side while you're moving. And like by the time you get to mid, maybe you have like 30-40% of your special. And then because you're in mid first, that means that all of this is like unpainted and you can get your crab very, very fast. But we should have a plan of like how we're trying to get crab at the beginning. Very bad habit. Too many unnecessary squid rolls. I feel you though. Back when I played other shooters that had like a jump button, like jumping in this game is like super detrimental because it slows you down so much. But in other games, like I would have a bad habit of just jumping because like you would be the same speed whether you walked or you were jumping. Like when I played Halo, for example. So like a lot of times when I'm just traversing the map, I'll just like, if there's like a flat open area that I have to like get to mid and like traverse through, I'm just gonna jump because it activates something in my brain that makes me feel better. Take care, sons. Take care. Appreciate you. But yeah, it's something easy to point out that we can be a little bit better at. Because like right now we have like 0% jumping in Quake and TF2. I'm not too sure about exactly how jumping in those games like affects certain stuff, but I'd be interested to know. Hero Crow. Trying to remember back in TF2. I played TF2, but I don't remember. Maybe it was the same thing where you can kind of just jump. But I did not play Quake. I've watched high level Quake and it like blows my mind how accurate people are, but I've never actually played the game. And it's just like we're here in mid. Like we made it to mid and we have like, oh wait, that's not us. Where did I go wrong? Okay, so we are closer to special. But how we get our special is very like, yeah, we're wasting a lot of time and a lot of opportunity to paint. Because ideally we should be having special in like the next second or two. And like we don't want to back up. Like part of the reason why we want to paint as we move forward is so that we don't have to back up to get more paint. And again, just minor optimizations, but like we're painting like these uninkables and we're wasting a bunch of time and a bunch of ink painting nothing. Again, it sounds very like petty, but we do really want to get value out of that opening crab, and it's really important to do so. Doesn't understand why sharing personal info is a bad idea. Yikes. Ruh-roh. You need to jump for rocket sticky jumping. Oh, I see. Yeah, there was grenade jumping back in Halo. I had a lot of fun with it. The other thing, I literally made a tweet about this. And yes, it is a personal attack. I made it because I knew that this was going to happen and it was specifically for this. But basically, if you have enough ink to throw a bomb before you crab. This is a perfect target for you to throw a burst bomb at and immediately pop your crab. And then you either get a free 60 damage if you direct them. You know, if not, then you should realistically get 35 or 25 damage. And when you immediately pop your special, this person is going to have paint all around their feet, like your team's paint. So they're going to have a hard time moving. Plus they're damaged. Plus, like, you can immediately combo your crab shots. The Iron Rebirth is Rage Dweeter. That's true. Except for it's Rage Dweeter because it's an X or something. I don't know. Anyways. That's a missed opportunity. Like we're popping crab because our special gauge is full. We should be popping crab because there's a specific target that we're looking for. Also, this animation. So what is this animation? Like, I don't like us crabbing in the spot because we have nothing. Like, generally this is an okay crab spot, but like what are we aiming for? Yo, Squid Kid, welcome in. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I hope you have a nice evening and hopefully a nice start to your next week. But thank you so much. I appreciate that. And by the time we get our crab out, like we don't have a target in mind. This person now got behind cover. There's some people over here. And it's just like this crab doesn't get value because we didn't have a plan for it. We could have had a plan, but we just didn't have a plan. And yes, getting a crab as fast as possible is really important, but some of that is under the assumption that you have a target in mind. That's the biggest thing when using your crab is like you should have something specific that you're targeting. You know, like you see someone here, see someone here. There's probably people over this way as well. Like you can probably predict at the very beginning of the match where people are going to be sitting. And we want to position ourselves to target one of those people. And like with us positioning and crabbing over here, like we can't hit too many people. So when we crab, like this person, we can't really target. If our teammate was pushing them, then we could like paint over here and cut off their exit and then they're stuck. But no one's really pushing them. So like this orange zap, we can't do anything with. This person's too far out of range. They can just back up, which like isn't bad. But this isn't the highest value crab. And meanwhile, like I said, there's probably some more people over here. They're both sitting in right pit. We don't have the vision, nor do we have the range to be able to get consistent value out of this. So the reason why this crab fails is because we didn't set ourselves up for anything. We had an opportunity to potentially stop this person with a burst bomb and slow them down so that they cannot actually get over here. And we could have potentially had a free pick if we were faster about that. Both faster getting our special at the beginning of the match. Oops. Like if we were better with painting as we move forward, like our timing would line up better and we would have special faster than like they're getting over here. But the other thing is that if we don't see one of those opportunities, then I'd rather us not pop our special immediately. I'd rather us slow it down and just contest for the zone, throw bombs. Like at a certain point, if you don't immediately pop your crab, like they have to worry about the threat of the crab. And like they also have to play the objective. So it's really important to know like why you're crabbing. And this crab feels very directionless. Like the idea is good. I know what you're trying to do, but like in this moment in time in this game, there isn't something very specific that you're targeting, and that's a problem. I do like the bombs over ledges and help cleaning up. Like you help your team get like get a clean wipe out of all that, so that's awesome. Again, jumping in is awesome. Now we decide if we want to move forward or we start painting. Again, we're doing a lot of for fun squid rolling. Our aim is really good, so nice picks. But we want to be more efficient with our movement. We're having a little bit too much fun. And this is another situation we should be painting for special. Like, I love what you're doing now. We should have done this a little bit faster. And we should also be painting zone instead of behind us in this spot. But the idea here is wonderful. No burst bomb. Not even no burst bomb. No two burst bombs. We could have double burst bombed here. Why are we popping our special? Like, we're trying to surprise the enemy team with the special, but us, like, hiding behind cover and then poking out with crab, like, that's not surprising. Because A, you're just making it harder for yourself because you can't really see what's happening over here. And you cut off angles around here and stuff. And when your team has an advantage, you probably can push a little bit more aggressive. The other thing I would say is like, yeah, we had like, I don't know if we had a full tank. This is because we already popped special, I think. But we definitely had enough for 2 bombs. And we should be throwing those 2 bombs. Like I can see that you're trying to target this person. Like I know that this is the person you're going for, and I like that. That's what you should be doing. It's like, oh, I know this target. I'm gonna go after this target. But we're not using our tools as a person that can paint very well and has free chip with burst bombs at a safe distance, we're not using our tools to get value out of our crab. And that's really, really, really important. Really, really, really important. Yeah, I have fun by flaming people. Not by playing the video game. And again, I'm poking a little bit, but I do want to let you know that like how important this is. And don't worry, there's people that are way better than me that make these same mistakes. Which is why I consider Splatoon a very casual game. Because people don't like, you know, at the rank that you're at, you know, like around 2K, basically, like that makes sense for you not, you know, to be consistent with this. Because if you were, you would win, like, you can win a lot of games just by controlling the game with your crab. And that's been probably the biggest thing. I see where your brain is going. Like I can tell based off of your positioning and timings that like you do have a specific target in mind. And that's like a really important first step. But we need to leverage our tools. And in certain cases, that can be our teammates, you know, like popping a crab with no teammates around versus popping a crab when our teammate's trying to push forward can make a big difference. And like that person's probably still going to go down because our paintbrush was sitting in that spot to pop off. Solo queue to play, let's go. I also think that we know this person's here. Yeah, I would be a little bit careful. Like I don't know if you play with sound, but like you can totally hear that there's something happening over here. And I'd rather investigate that before moving forward onto this person. So like I would safely paint like this area like a little bit farther back, so it's hard to see because of all the names and everything, but I'd probably sit like back here and get some paint over here. And like you can use a burst bomb to give you info on if there's someone hiding behind this wall. If you get an indicator that you hit something, then it's like, oh, there's someone behind here. And then as a team, we can target this person from a safe distance. But it's easy to not see that there was a person there, but if you were listening, you could definitely hear that there was someone over there, and we kind of just get caught off guard because we're pushing too fast. But I don't know. The bigger thing there is definitely the crab, as you mentioned when submitting the review. Teammates are going down. This is very scary. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't mind us looking for a play, but yeah, I think we go a little bit. At a certain point, we just want to paint for special and set ourselves up. And again, here we're not setting up our crabs. There's so much enemy paint, like mid is just all enemy paint. How do we isolate a target? Partially it's a little bit scary. We pop crab when there's a roller pushing behind us. There's a chance that our crab just gets stuffed. But even if you do trust your teammates to get the pick, which they do end up getting, like how do we pop a crab and get any value here? We're shooting into the dark effectively. And like using the paint of the splash, using the burst bombs of the splash, we're a detective. Like before we use our crab, we're like a detective. And we have things to investigate and look for clues. Like our paint, our teammates, our bombs, all of those are tools in order for us to get more information. We want to get as much information, or at least get enough information to where we know that we're going to get value with our crab. And we are not trying to help ourselves out, trying to get picks here. And like the only reason why this play goes well is because our teammates are ready to follow up. But again, I think the idea is good. I think the timing's good, but we're not using our resources to the best of their ability. Nice picks. Yeah, your actual mechanics are like really, really good. Really, really good. I would be focusing on zone just because I don't trust my teammates and they had no penalty. But either way, it's fine. Same thing here. We're not setting up this classic splash detective analogy. I forgot that I've used these, and sometimes I just come up with analogies on the fly, but the detective one I've used quite a bit. So yeah, you're not wrong. But yeah, again, this one we're not using it. The other thing that I want to mention is that when we're using our crab, like we just got 2 splats, it's a 4v2. We don't necessarily need to use our crab right now. We should be able to push the enemy team back without popping our crab. Like our teammates get 1 pick, the roller's down, teammates get 2 picks. They just need you to move forward and help them paint and help, just like your burst bombs are basically as good as your crab is going to be to flush these people out. But when y'all have like a 2-person advantage like this and you have full control of mid, like you don't really need to pop your crab. If you're not sure if you should use it or not, I'd rather you just use it, you know? Like it's better to use it and not get as much value than not use it and ruin your hold or your push. So I'm fine with you using it, but this is like, as someone that's a little bit higher level, this is a wasted crab because we should be able to flush these last 2 people out and maintain control and still be able to push forward without having to use our crab. And we can push these people out while the other 2 people on their team respawn. And again, this goes back to like, understand how we want to influence this game. Because there's 2 people left. We know there's somewhere on this like tier 2 area. We're not sure exactly where. We see the one that's on their snipe, but we don't know where the second one is. But as a 4v2 here with no specials, we should be able to either splat these people if they push us, or they have to back up or jump out completely. And we should just have confidence that in a 4v2, we should be able to do that. And after we do that, and these people start spawning in and swimming in, we want to sit up here on this tier 2 on their snipe, and we want to get crab out when their enemy team is trying to push. And if we can get a crab up here, like if we get a crab up here, we're threatening a KO. Because no one can drop on you. If you're sitting here with crab, no one can drop like anywhere. No one can push this main ramp. You stalled them for so long, and like eventually the rest of your team will have specials as well. And like the enemy team has to drop on y'all, and y'all are in a great position. And if they have to use their specials when y'all are sitting on their tier 2, then like they use their specials, you just back up and you're sitting in zone, and the enemy team's already used their specials and you still keep control. But using the crab the way that you do now should win you this fight, even though you should already kind of win the fight. But holding the crab and using it up here when the whole enemy team's going to respawn, because you should be able to outplay what the enemy team's trying to do without your crab, that's how you actually like win the game. That's how you actually like KO this match. And it's really important to try to find that type of value, especially when your team already has, like in this situation at 229 in this game, in this 4v2, when the enemy team has no specials, that your team is all ready to push up. You have such an advantage that you don't need to use your special to like continue to take space in this situation. And you can be more greedy with your special and use it to KO the match. And that's what we want to be looking to do in order to close out these matches. Especially in a solo queue environment where the enemy team is very often not going to do a great job of coordinating a retake push. Because like this crab was worse than you using your splash, because like there weren't great angles for you to like hit stuff. And your team had a hard time pushing because of it. Uh-oh. Oh, this is scary. So yeah, they're gonna retake, that's fine. Ideally, you can stop them from pushing up into your tier 2. Your teammates have stalled them for a while. But now your teammates are trickling in. Yeah, and again, we're just not using our burst bombs. All these people can move for free because we just don't... We're not setting ourselves up to be able to get picks. And so now we're sitting here without a crab. And now we have to force some weird setup, which I like the idea that you're going for, but you know, you're in a much harder position here than you would otherwise be. Your mechanics, like your aim and everything is so good. Yeah, don't worry about taking the fight, just get the... We just need to get zone. We just need to get zone. One of them jumps, so we should take zone, but like we should just get zone. Alright, we're good. Whew. Somehow we lost lead there, I would have been very sad. Yeah, again, as a team, you probably can take their tier 2, and then you try to build crab in the meantime, but this is fine. But like, I would just get this paint. I don't think we need to shark. The enemy team still, like, they're naturally going to slow down a little bit anyways, because they have to wait for their teammates to spawn in. They're very much staggered. Okay. At this rank, maybe people just move forward in certain spots. I like these ideas. These cute ideas are totally solid. Yo, what's up, DJ Cloaker? Hello, hello, hello. Biggest fear is someone submitting one destroying me. Yeah, it'll happen to all of us at some point. Just how it goes. I like that you're taking space moving forward. I should be able to get crab out on snipe. Okay, we back out and get crab out. Here is okay. Yeah, that's fine. I think there's someone on the right that we don't know where they're at. Yeah, we have to be a little bit careful about that. That's the only potentially scary thing about them doing this, but... Okay. Oh no. The retake. I'm fascinated with how our team is going to try to retake here. I feel like we are not playing with specials. We are just going to try to go in for a fight. My teammate has a reef slider. You still have time. Oh. Okay, 2 down. I'd probably get expo shots here. Nice. Might be able to hold. Okay. Okay. Nice. Okay. Whew. Whew. This game's a scary one. I tried playing some Stringer after the patch. I like it, but the thin spotter shot. Oh, I think the spotter shot. So where are you gonna stay? Yeah, spotter shot's in a really good spot, you know? Keep fighting other Stringers? I think that's fair. Alright. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of... I like that you pinpointed the crabs, because I think that we need to have a lot of work with them. So yeah, biggest thing... We need to... I want better pre-planning. And I want us to just overall, like, set up our crabs for success. Good crabs won't rank, I mean, over time, with enough of a sample size, it'll happen. But like, in order for us to have consistently successful crabs, we have to improve our method of when we're using them. And right now, we're just using crabs when we have special ready. And what does it mean to pre-plan for the crab? So the first thing is that we want to identify target. In certain cases, it'll be an enemy. In certain cases, it might be part of the map that you want your team to push with. But in certain spots, I think you actually did this identifying the person. I think you actually did a really good job. Like, I can tell that you're looking for specific people when you're trying to use your crab, but we're not trying to isolate them. I don't know if isolate's necessarily the right word, because you don't always have to isolate them, but basically just like use tools to increase probably, how do you spell likelihood? Is there no E? Likely, yeah, there's no, wait, there is. Wait, what? Is that really how you spell it? Likely? Huh. Alright, it looks really weird. Yeah, we want to increase the likelihood of success. How do we do that? The biggest thing is that we want to use our bombs. We really, like, there's so many spots where we have the ink tank to throw one at least, and in most cases we were able to throw 2 burst bombs. And like throw them either at the target if you want to do the direct damage. In certain cases, if you have 2 bombs, you can like get a pick. Like sometimes you can just prevent yourself from having to even use your crab if you throw 2 well-placed burst bombs. In other cases, sometimes I'll throw burst bombs behind the target. It just depends. If you have a good opportunity to get chip damage, I would generally say you should go for it. But if you can't get chip damage, even just throwing burst bombs behind the person so that they have a harder time running away and they're stuck, so either you get the pick or your teammate can run to them and get the pick as well because an enemy's stuck behind cover. That's the ideal situation that you want to be looking for in this situation. The other thing that you can do is like you can use your main weapon. Also, you can use it to potentially chip. Sometimes you can zone people out to prevent them from moving far, like too far forward to where getting value out of the crab is going to be harder. What other situations? I mean, just in general, just like getting paint. Like the more paint that you, like the whole detective analogy, the more paint that you are able to get around a person or just on the map, wherever you're planning on using your crab and like shooting at, the more paint, like the more of your paint that you have, the more targeted that you can be with where you're using your crab. And this whole game, every single crab that you used, you were kind of just like stuck, basically. It's just like there's a whole sea of enemy ink, and there's no way for you to be able to have a good target. I don't care how good you are, no one's gonna get any value out of the crabs that you, or like people, not that you can't get any value, but the amount of value that you got on average is probably the best that you're gonna do given the setup that you have. What your setup right now is just like, you know, at least I can say that you identified the target, but we didn't do any of this other stuff. Some of it as well as our positioning. I think our positioning was generally okay, but I think in a lot of times we didn't fully think about where the fights were going to take place. And I think there was a little bit of like moving to the left, moving to the right, maybe getting a little bit higher ground with crab in certain spots to make your life a little bit easier. I think your crab positioning again was generally like okay. But that is something that we can optimize. But the biggest thing is just that whole setup, especially with the burst bombs. It'll help you tremendously. Like it feels like we're trying to sneak out a crab. The thing in this game is that both teams know when either team has their special. And yes, if you technically pop your special the second you have it, they can't plan for it. But as you continue to improve, most people are going to be watching the top of the screen and see like, you know, who has special at any given moment. And if they know that you have special, even for like a second, they can start positioning themselves to avoid losing to your special and like getting splatted. And that's like a good habit for them to do. But if they start backing up or if they start sitting behind cover and they can't affect the rest of the match, like you don't have to use your crab. You can hold on to the crab for a little bit longer until a better opportunity finds itself. And we were just like, oh, we have crab, let's use crab. And just in general with zones, I loved I love the spots where you're being sneaky and looking for opportunities for picks. Certain times I think you could have painted a little bit faster when there wasn't an opportunity, or just doing other things faster. Mostly it was generally being able to paint. But I like the ideas, really, really good. I like that you're able to stay alive when you can. When your team has control, I like that you're getting paint around you, especially on this map when there's these very wide areas of the map. Like after you cap zone, there's usually like one of these 4 areas are probably, if not something in this main line of pushing, but one of these 4 zones are probably going to have either no paint or enemy paint. And we can target one of these or 2 of these and like have a special, almost guaranteed. So that's kind of the biggest thing. But I think you did that well. Like your aim when like actually taking fights are super, super solid. But yeah, we're just popping crabs and like not trying to get the value out of the crabs. I would have pulled up one of my SAC games to show how I use crabs, but I don't think I played Splash a single time. So it's not going to be super helpful because I didn't play Splash and we didn't have a crab. But anytime that you watch like a top player using their crab, they should be trying to do this. If you watch like Melon or Kuro, like one of the top Japanese players using crab, they will always do this. Almost always. There's like a very fringe amount of times where it's actually not worth using a burst bomb because the timing window is so small that the few frames, you know, however long it takes for you to get the bomb out, that time like makes the difference of like how you are going to be able to use your sub. So like there are times where like using your sub isn't the right play, but again, that's like less than 5% of the time. So just get into the habit of always use. And in certain cases, you'll have no ink, and like sitting in ink for half a second to get a burst bomb out like isn't worth it. It's just like too slow. And in those cases, it's fine. But if you have the ink already, especially if you have a full ink tank, like 2 burst bombs makes a huge difference. So yeah. So that's kind of the main thing with all of that. But again, I like your I like the way that your brain is thinking about the game. I think this is something that you either completely didn't ever consider, or maybe you didn't consider it being like that valuable. But I think you can implement this into your game and you see a lot of success very quickly. So I think the rest of your game is pretty well rounded. And again, I think that you think about the game very well. But we're popping crab and we're not trying our best to help ourselves get those picks. And because of that, we very rarely got picks. I think you're using crab at the right times. It's just not getting as much value as we potentially could be. And then the other thing that I would say just very generally is I'm just going to call it like efficient movement. But there's times where we're using like squid rolls and stuff instead of painting, or instead of just like being faster. Like squid rolls do slow us down. Often it's not by a ton. There were certain spots where we use squid rolls, especially when like navigating around like bombs and specials. It was really important and it was really helpful, and we got a lot of value from doing it. But when there isn't a specific use for it, like I'm glad that you're practicing it. I'm glad that you have consistency like doing it. But you know, in the game, like being very efficient with our time is super important. That's something that you're going to continually improve as you get better and better at the game. Even high level players in the game now are still working on doing that. But again, you watch a top level, like top level player, you watch someone like Jared, you watch someone like, you know, Chocopero, Melon, all of the short range shooters from Japan that are like top level players, that you will never see them like think about something or slow down for like a second. They are always like moving forward or always moving in a way to get value out of whatever it is they're trying to do. So yeah, again, I think we did a good job of slaying, but like basically none of this correlated with the actual crabs that we use. But you did like, again, your brain is in the right place. You're painting a lot to get a lot of crabs, which is really, really good. And I think your ability to get picks, your ability to stay alive, all super, super good. And I actually think that there's certain spots where we could be moving forward a little bit better when you're playing zones. Like when we're using crab and like when we don't need to. Like we have such an advantage that we don't really need to use it. There's certain spots that can help close out games in certain situations that you could those could close out games that potentially you lose. Like there was at least 2 opportunities where we could have closed out the game with our crab, and you know, we did win this game, but like barely, and we very well could have lost this game. You did very well at the end, but you know, there's probably a lot of these types of games that if you have better crabs, you can like dictate the pace of the game. Because I think you're way above this current rank and stuff. So I think naturally the more you play, you'll just continue to climb, but if you implement the stuff with the burst bombs and just like thinking about, you know, don't try to surprise the enemy team with your crab, like force them into a bad play. Like the fact that you're popping your crab and you're able to very quickly you're very quickly able to use Hydra shots, you're very quickly able to, you know, use Explo shots. Like the amount of power that you have as a crab user, you don't need to like surprise the enemy team. You don't want to think about using your special as like another form of like sharking, you know? Like you don't have to be like, sometimes it can be beneficial, but for the most part, you just want to put yourself into a good spot. And like, you don't have to like trick the enemy into making a mistake. You can force them into making bad plays. That's like the value. Like that's one of the nice things about having a special, especially like a good special in this game. It doesn't require you to have to be like super crafty. Like, yes, you do have to like, you know, like that whole pre-planning that I was talking about, that part is definitely important, but you don't have to like shark in the perfect spot and find the perfect opportunity. If you're doing everything else well, on average, your crab should still be very strong. Even if the enemy team knows it's coming, in a lot of spots they like can't do anything about it unless they have one of those tools that are like crab hate. And like this person here like was not thinking about like countering your crab. So like because they didn't have that, basically no one else on their team is like really a threat to our crab. The only way that they can play around your crab is like not playing the game and like backing up all the way. If they're at all trying to contest the objective or at all trying to like take fights, our crab should always be relevant. As long as we set ourselves up for success. But no, I think you hit the nail on the head when it comes to the crab. And I think that it's something that we can continue to work on. Because yeah, there's little things that will give us huge value. Discord. Yeah, thank you so much for the review. Again, I imagine that you level up very, very, very fast, so don't feel I think there's one glaring issue with your gameplay currently, which is like the crab setup. I don't even think like you using the crab is that bad, but you know, if I had to use crab in the ways that you were using it, like I don't think I navigate the crab plays any better. It really is about the setup and finding like good opportunities to do stuff. All right, next is onto Soup's review. As I get all of the text updated. More X Battle zones, let's go. Also, if you have any specific questions either now or like later on, just let me know. I'd be happy to go into any more depth for you. Or like later on, if you find yourself into a situation, feel free to message me for follow-up if you have any questions, and I want to try my best to help y'all out. So this is about 1860. What was happening in the world in 1860? I have no idea. Alright. And they said they have a peak of 2200 in zones, and they said they keep losing and want to get it back. They said despite my KD, I felt like I was too passive, maybe too supportive. I feel like the game was like a fever dream, and if we did anything, it would be for a second. Yeah, we'll have to decipher exactly what that means, but it sounds like the game just kind of happened and we weren't able to, you know, when we had advantages, because it sounds like they had a really good game personally, but when they had advantages, they weren't able to leverage those advantages as much as they would. And maybe the enemy team just kind of like pushed past us and steamrolled us a little bit, so we'll getting into this, we'll see how it goes, but yeah, Orange Zap, I need more reps on. It feels very... It feels okay. But I feel like Orange Zap needs a lot more support from the rest of our team. Like, it feels like it needs more coordination than a lot of other weapons. Alright, I'm gonna catch up with chat real quick, and we'll get into it. I feel like fighting good stringers... Oh, you like to fight good stringers? Good way for you to tighten your mechanics, pay attention to other strats. It gets tiring, yeah. The mirror match, so like the mirror match in like any game is like tough. When all the strengths and weaknesses of one weapon is the same as the other one, it feels like tiring is probably the best way to put it. So I don't it mentally can definitely be draining. In a game like Splatoon, like in a 4v4, like the mirror match doesn't feel as bad because there's so many other variables that are happening. But I will say like backline versus backline is probably more tiresome than like zap versus zap or splash versus splash or, you know, Nautilus versus Nautilus. Like I think the backline is where the mirror matches like feel more real and closer to how they feel in fighting games, which mirror matches in fighting games feel really bad. They're interesting though, because on like a person to person level, it's like in certain cases it's like what do you know? Like what do you know versus what do I know? And like both people are like trading tech back and forth and like looking for ways to be able to outplay the other person because your characters like do the same thing. And so some of that can be interesting, but yeah, it can also be very tiring. I do have a stringer pod that can be a good review. Never to upload it. Yeah, definitely. I would love to see it and take a look. I always ignore paint, but I couldn't move. Oh no. Every time that I try to play a non-painting weapon, I go into solo and like I feel that way. In like 2 or 3 games of comps where like the paint just feels really bad. And some of it is like I need to get better in those situations, but it tires me out. Because every time I'm just thinking like I could just be playing like Zap and Splash and like make the lives of everyone a lot easier. I'd rather just do that. I may try to push a game of mine. Hope it gets reviewed. Yeah, I mean, it just takes time. Like we have a month and a half. So there's definitely plenty of time. I won't be able to get to it for a few days, but yeah, we'll definitely be able to. Yeah, sooner you submit better. Well said. My stringer is crab hate, only if it survives my initial shots. Sheesh. 7 spots, 7 deaths. Ouch. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Tetra 1v1. Tetra 1v1s are crazy. I don't have the brain capacity or the power to make that work. Yeah, and that's the thing. After all that, it's like, oh, well, we just use QR instead. Alright, anyways. So Barnacle and Dime, we've gone over it a few times in zones. These plots, oops. These plots, very important for both teams. This is kind of the way for you to break open the map. You know, how do we push these? You know, if you get picks in mid, that's one way for you to be able to leverage the numbers to be able to just force. A lot of times, people will want to use this side flank specifically to push. Because if you're able to get underneath this ledge, the enemy team has to make some weird plays to be able to like punish you. So if you have teammates, you can kind of sit in one of these spots and look to make a play. You can either force this way, sometimes you can back up this way, but sitting, it's like, let's assume that we're pushing this way. It's like sitting here and threatening this push can be very tiring for the enemy team. So this is one thing that we can get a lot of value of. As a splash, kind of sitting in this little ramp here is like generally pretty good. You can control the zone. You can go for this type of flank to get into this position if there's an opportunity. You know, you can get vision if there's someone that's trying to do that to your team. You're very easily able to back up and play on your plot if you need to. And yeah, you can get bombs over this little ledge. So this is generally just a pretty safe spot to sit in. You can use this in front of you as cover if you need to. But yeah, this is kind of like a nice spot. This is good as well. Yo, Essence Tanker. Is it Essence? Hopefully. Essence Tanker. Thank you so much. I appreciate the follow, my friend. And welcome, welcome. Hope you're doing well. Hope life is treating you well. Hopefully you're having a nice weekend. Essence. Perfect, perfect. Thank you. Appreciate the clarification. Yeah, I really like this spot as a Zap player myself. So there's a lot of good spots, and like I'm not trying to say this as in, oh, you should only sit here the entire game, but this is a nice like base position to rotate this way or rotate this way or back up this way or back out completely because your whole team got wiped this way, or like push the enemy team. You know, like you can move up to cover here, you can move up to cover here. And if you ever need to back out, you can back out to this default position. But if you don't know where to go and it's like relatively even, this is like a nice spot. Abortive chess. Yeah, basically. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. This is just a nice central position, which if I was better at chess, I could more confidently talk about it. But I know that in chess, like holding central positions with like your pawns and your pieces in general is very good. Same thing here, because you want to be able to quickly rotate to the rest of your team, just like in chess. Fighting mod? Oh, mid. Really out on Barnacle? I feel caught out on the flanks. I kind of poke bombs. Yeah, there's ways like, this goes back to like, you watch really good players playing shooters on this map. They leverage the cover on the map way better than I do. Or than, you know, most people probably generally do without like really being deliberate with how they play the match. But yeah, that's kind of the main thing here. And I think we can get a lot of value out of our Super Chump. Either we can scatter it behind their side of mid, or we can scatter it over here. Those are probably two of like the better places. If we want to try to catch someone out, we can maybe play it over here. Or if they're pushing us, we can use it on our side of zone. But probably one of these two would be ideal if we're looking for an opportunity to move forward. And again, same thing I was saying with Crab in the last review. I want to see us using our auto bombs like before we use our. We can get an auto bomb off before special, and we can also get another one off immediately after. So we can get our super chumps down and also have 2 auto bombs in play. Is very powerful for orange sap. Oh, and then just quickly with comps, we actually have double super chump, which is very interesting. Our team has a lot of paint between the 3 of us. Vacuum's interesting now that it's buffed. And I think it's more gimmicky than anything, but it definitely has its moments to be very powerful. I don't think it's bad by any means, but I think people are experimenting with it, and it's making people feel like it's stronger than it probably actually is. But it's somewhere in the middle. It's definitely not bad, but it's not like the best thing ever. And then Booyah Bomb's another nice initiation tool. So we have a lot of really good initiation to retake or to push forward. We have a very well-balanced team. Our firepower isn't great. Both we're all a lot of chip. So there's definitely going to probably be opportunities where we need to be more frontline and pushing up. And then we're playing against another Aerospray. Reef Slider can sometimes be a little bit annoying. Paintbrush definitely can be annoying. These things are like more mid-rangey-ish that can punish us if we don't position ourselves well. So we need to be very deliberate with where we move, or else we get picked out by one of those. And we have to be careful about all the different cover and corners, because we can get surprised potentially by the either fast mobility of the Dapple or fizzy bomb spam from the Aerospray. So again, I just want us to be very deliberate with how we're playing and have very, a plan in mind and try our best to focus on the execution. Yeah, thank you for the follow. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Yeah, and again, getting it on their backside of zone, this is good. See if we can follow up on this person. I'm going to let the opening cook a little bit. Do you like the bomb in that spot? Booyah Bomb versus Booyah Bomb. It's like an anime. Real life squid anime. Alright, so we have advantages. I'm interested to see if we decide to move it forward. Alright, this opening is just back and forth. I gotta... We're a minute in. I'm gonna call it here. Usually I try to I like to stop it on like a clean break of like one team wipes another team, but when it continues just to keep playing at a certain point, I have to we'll come back to it. But there's a lot of good stuff and a lot of interesting stuff going on. And I think your insight is like spot on with things that we could be working with and that we can be improving on ourselves. Yo, hee hee ha. I will take this game for a review. It's got a good amount of errors. That's good. Yeah, and if there's anything specific in the review that you're looking to improve on, or you have a question about, again, I think both the reviews today have been just like spot on with their analysis. We're only a minute into this game, but I can see why we're feeling the way that we're feeling. But yeah, you were saying, was an effective way to play Aerospray? I think getting a lot of paint down is really important. Like getting paint down and having efficient movement. Like we always want to threaten potentially pushing them. Not that we want to just run at them, but we at least want to like always be there to potentially threaten it. Because like we're not a good weapon to take fights, but we can do like if we move around a lot, we can paint a lot and we can threaten. Like I think more than anything, as an Aerospray, we like want to make the enemy team feel very uncomfortable. And then once we have a special, our Booyah Bomb's a really good special option. But, when we have specials as a team, we can look to push with them. But I wouldn't get too... I wouldn't just run at the enemy team. But especially if they have like a backline. Like if you can run past the enemy team lines and run into like a charger or run into, just any sort of backliner, a Splatling, a Jet Sculpture, Explo, you know, if you can get underneath them, then you can actually potentially like punish them and you can fight them. Or if you catch someone off guard, like you can push anyone, but you want to be very smart about the fights you take because its fighting power is very weird. So like you have to be very flexible with your game plan, but Booyah Bomb is definitely a consistent way for you to get value. It's kind of the biggest thing I would say. But for your specific Aerospray, if you play a lot of Aerospray, I can't give you a great answer without seeing a replay. I have a question about motion controls. What's a way to be intimidating while also not failing to control your character? I just started. I want to learn how to get better. I mean, early on, this game has probably one of the more, especially, so I think this game has a steeper learning curve in terms of like just controlling your character, I would say. So like you're not alone. It's going to take a couple 100 hours for you to start getting consistent about stuff. The best thing that I would say, and like I play solo queue sometimes, but like if you can find like good players, and if you need a list of recommendations, please let me know. But like, you know, Kiver, Kyo, Jared, you know, Barry's another person that streams quite a bit. But if you find any, like Rafa's a good, I know that Rafa streams quite a bit. Rafa's another, like any streamer that like tries to take competitive relatively seriously, or has played the game enough to be very strong. Look at the way that they move their character. Look at the way that they, like how they move around the map. And I do this all the time, but I'll go into recon, whatever map they're playing. Like if they do something with the, like in the game that feels like I don't know what they just did, like pause whatever stream, whatever video you're watching, you know, Dude, Chara, all of them are good. You know, everyone that is very solid at the game, you can take some notes from. But look at what they're doing and try to mimic it. It sounds like you're pretty like almost brand new, maybe. If you're like new, or especially new getting into the competitive side, or like trying to improve, there's probably a lot of tech. Like there's a lot of technical pieces that allow you to move your character a little bit faster. You can stop a lot of the need to accelerate or decelerate using stuff like substrafing, main strafing. There's a lot of efficiency with movement in this game. Movement's probably the hardest thing to get better at. Started the game in February. Got you. Yeah, what's up, Aesthetic? If you review or if you submit a review, I can definitely get to it. But I go in the order that they get submitted. Starting wasn't hard for you. Good to hear. But yeah, it's definitely something that you'll have to continue to improve on. But I definitely recommend like motion controls if it works for you. But it does take a lot of time to get there and get comfortable. But I think just practicing, like it just kind of the long and short of it is that you just have to play the game a lot, and over time you'll get more comfortable with everything. It's hard to provide like the perfect answer, but just give yourself time. Yeah, no problem. If I have any issues, as long as there's a replay code, that's all I can ask for. But if there's anything, you know, if there's anything specific, I can work through that. Is Turf War fine? If you're a newer player, yeah, it's fine. I don't generally like using Turf War, but in moderation is fine. Most people don't submit it, so I'm okay with it. Give me like a second. We'll get into it. 1 second. Yeah, we were building the Lego set. The piece came off, so we're trying to figure out where exactly it went, but I think we figured it out. Oh. Ideally, I like rank a little bit more, but if you're super new, there's probably, like, regardless of whatever mode you're playing, there's probably a lot that I can help with. If there's a lot of Turf War submissions at a certain point, I'll probably be more strict with it, but they usually only happen during Splatfest, so if one or two come down the pipeline, it's not the end of the world. I expect them to say Barfy back. Got braces a few days back. Oof. Yeah, that's a fun time for sure. I don't know, honestly, at least for me, it wasn't too bad, but there's definitely some moments, especially when they like tighten stuff to like keep it moving. Yeah, those are some painful weeks. But overall wasn't too bad. But I hope it goes well. Although I had some, like, apparently my back teeth like are like slightly oddly shaped. So they had to like form whatever little like metal piece they put around those teeth. That was actually very painful because they had to like bend the metal in a way to like force it around my teeth. That was really bad. I remember this map mode combo. What's up, Echo? Hello. How do I put it? In the Discord, as long as you submit a new post, there's in the replay template, there's a template that you can use. So ideally use that, but just submit it in the replay channel and we should be able to get to it. Not today though, but over the next, probably week. Anything that gets submitted now will probably get reviewed over the next week, realistically. But I review them in the order that they're submitted. All right. Yo, welcome in, Trey. Looking for a weapon that works with your playstyle? Slayer and support? You like playing stick? I don't really know. That's like the easy answer is always like, especially with the recent patch. Like I think Splattershot, like the V shot, T-Tech, and like Zap. I think the Splattershot and the Zap are both very strong. Either iteration that makes you feel like you enjoy the kit more. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of things that can kind of fit that role. But shooters are good because they can be very self-sufficient for painting. And it feels really bad when you get into matches where no one is painting. Or no, you don't have a weapon that is able to paint. But yeah. Couldn't watch the review. Oh, no worries. Right after the stream. Yeah, so the VODs. So if you just like, you could like click on the stream now and like watch the replay. Like you should be able to see all of that. But if you're, I've been bad on it because I've just been so busy. But after the stream today, like I'm slowly uploading everything on the YouTube channel, but all of it will be archived on YouTube if you want to access it after. Because I think on Twitch, rebroadcast only lasts for like 30 days or 60 days or something. One of those two numbers, and then they get deleted off Twitch. But I archive them all on YouTube, so I will get those links eventually in there. And patience to the people that I reviewed and didn't do that already, just because it's been a little bit busy for me. But yeah, it'll all be archived, all be available for review, and I will ping you with the YouTube link once it has been uploaded. It should be uploaded in the next couple of days, and so I'll get that pinged to you. I've just been bad on it. I need to be better. But yeah, there's a lot of weapons that can do that really well. Like, Rapid Blasters, if you want to play like the blaster play style, Rapid Blaster is also another really awesome weapon that can support and also slay. I don't know. A lot of things can kind of play that role. It's hard to know specifically what you're like. I would just try out a lot of stuff. Just play like 10 games with a weapon and You know, you're gonna need more than 10 games to be able to like fully feel out a weapon, but within like 10 or 20 games, you should start at, you know, at least being like, is this fun? Is this something I'm interested in continuing to improve on and pursue? And that would be like the starting point for me. But there's a lot of, like, I would say almost everything can kind of fit that bill to a certain degree. But right now, just like normal splatter shot and normal zap are pretty strong. So either of those make sense. Yeah, no, you played really, really well. Your crabs, like, you're right. Like your crab, I would say almost like, I love the way that you think about the game. It's way like wherever your current rank is, like 1900, the way that you think about the game is way higher than that. So I see you'll have no problem like climbing, but yeah, your crabs were, you know, as nice as you want me to sugarcoat it, they need significant improvement. It's probably the best way to put it. So your analysis was spot on with all of it. So good stuff. Anyways, I'm going to continue with the review. I'll catch up with chat later, but you know, awesome questions. If you have anything specific, you know, I will get to it. But yeah. So in the opening of this match, again, I think this whole part was fine. We get our special, we pop it there. We're able to fight with our team. But there's a couple of things that I want us to improve on a little bit. So, and there's no perfect science with any of this. But the first thing that I would say, when we're taking a fight with a brush like this, like when the brush is sitting here, like, yes, we don't want to completely just run at them. But if you want to push over this, like you can jump over this ledge and drop and like push them this way. If you want to do this, you can. Like if you want to approach this person, like you see that your teammates are fighting over here, so you rotate this way, which is like fine as well. But there's definitely ways for us to approach this person to potentially get a pick on them. But I'm okay not necessarily pursuing it, because you definitely don't want to run at them, otherwise you just get spotted. But you're totally fine to like potentially look for this kind of angle, especially when you already have a numbers advantage. The one thing I would say, if you're trying to poke at this person, when you already have a teammate over here to push them this way, like you don't want to be redundant with the way that you're moving. You don't want to move in the same direction that your teammate already is. Like you just need to like push this. And it's a little bit scary because this Splattershot Pro sitting here. But if you're quick, it's like one of the biggest lessons that you'll learn over time in Splatoon is that if you're fast enough with anything, like you can just get away with stuff. Very seldom is that Splattershot Pro just gonna beam you and just like hit all their shots immediately because you sit out in the open for like 0.2 seconds. Because like, wait, is that that's not even the, oh, the Pro's the one that we're fighting. This is the Narrow Spray. So yeah, even more so. But even if it was the Pro, I wouldn't worry about it too much. But yeah, I would leverage this. You can either flank around this way, or again, you can jump on top of this uninkable. Like this uninkable is so important. Just in general as a shooter player, the uninkables are like they're super high value, and like people often just don't get that type of value. But the fact that 3 of y'all are rotating to the left allows this person to just escape and just leave. And even if you don't want to push it, at least like keep paint, right? Like just sit here and just keep paint here. So this person can't just jump over and escape. And then the rest of your teammates can push them. But you're totally fine in this spot, especially since you have numbers, to just jump on top of this area and just like, you know, just hit them in this type of spot. We just like let them escape for free. You know, getting a bomb, trying to punish this jump. All this is solid. I think we're just giving up a little bit too much space. I think that like we don't need to like fully commit to this, but we should be trying to push them a little bit harder. I'm going to talk about it a little bit, but like in a video. But like we want to get paint up here, we want to get paint behind here. These are 2 spots. The like 2 spots were like any spot, usually it's behind cover, that the enemy team generally wants to sit in and use. If you can't like if you're not confident, like I'm not confident in your spot either to just push it. If you wanted to push it, I wouldn't blame you for it by any means, because you'll have an advantage. You could go. So I don't blame you if you do. But even if you can't push it, we need, do challenges count? Yeah, I mean the last challenge, yeah, for sure. I probably, that'd be interesting. At some point, maybe I could do like a, like for like, I'm thinking about the ones where like you jump super high, or like the, like I don't want anything that's not the actual game, probably wouldn't want to do, outside of just doing it for fun. So that could be an interesting idea. But yeah, for the Rainmaker one and like for the splat zones before where you're just fighting for a higher power, yeah, it's totally fine. Totally fine. But yeah, just get like paint this person out so they have to back up. And if that person backs up, then you can start pushing. But I don't like us just sitting here and not being proactive. Like we're just sitting here and kind of waiting. When we have numbers, we have to continuously be proactive or else we don't have numbers. And this is just like too passive of play. When we have numbers, we should always be looking for opportunities to Zap's 4-star. Nice. Always look for just little ways to push them out. And as a Zap, you have this nice, you have a decent range and like really good paint. So if you can't take the fights directly, paint people out of those situations. You can force people out of parts of the map by painting. So again, this block here and then this block on their plot, or even like in mid, this little like U-shaped block, paint over them if you can't push them directly. And like if they back out, then you can push. Or if they stay, then they might not have enough paint. They might not have enough paint to move around, and then you can still push it. But we should still, like, we should be actively trying to push them. And pushing doesn't always mean just hold forward and take the first fight that comes at you. Sometimes pushing them means just pressuring them with bombs, pressuring them with paint. And like through that war of attrition, like because you'll have more numbers and your team comp generally, I mean, it does a better job of painting than theirs, but in general, it just is good paint. Anytime that you'll have numbers, you should be able to outpaint the enemy team. And so we want to leverage that as one of our win conditions. And when we're sitting this far back, when we have numbers advantages, we're not able to leverage that win condition, and the enemy team has an easier time getting back in these spots. And again, like it's like an even fight, and we're still not trying to pressure them as much. Yeah. And I think we get to a point where we just feel like, oh man, like we should have done something by now, so we're just gonna move forward and take a fight. But like this is again like we want to use our max range. Check this area. Okay, so let me watch it from an overhead. It'll be easier to. Okay, so in this type of spot, like we want to leverage the special that we just used. So like when we're sitting in the spot and we know the enemy team is generally like somewhere in this area, or generally, you know, by extension somewhere on their plot. If we know where they're in these areas, this is where we want to check, you know, check this area. They're commonly going to be bind here. Check around this middle pillar, get paint in that area. Your special's kind of watching this right flank for you, but you can check that as well. But like just get this paint and give your teammates opportunities to do stuff. This is not the time where you should be moving forward, because like the enemy team is mostly like back end at this point. But this is where you want to poke at the enemy team. Like poke at them with paint, poke at them with bombs. But just make your presence known and make them uncomfortable. Again, your team does a better job of painting the enemy team. So over time, like if you're the better paint team, like if you're the better painting team, try to just continue to get that paint out. And this is where you can allow, like try to work. If you want to go for a push and a play to like push the enemy team, like work with your VDS or CDS, sorry. Work with the CDS. They're going to like, you know, go over here. They're going to kind of poke into this open alleyway that where the enemy team's commonly going to be when they're fighting for mid, and like play off of that. But we don't want to just run in and like take the first fight that we see. Like, we had patience in spots where we probably should have been more proactive, and now we're being very impatient in a spot where we don't have that ability to do so. Yeah, I didn't even look at gear, but haunts. If you see haunt on the enemy team, that's one thing you have to consider. I don't look at gear too much, but it is something to consider. I think our gear is like pretty standard, which totally fine. So we're relatively close to special, but again, I want us to be painting, like get paint over the ledge, keep paint. Like I like the way that we're playing this, but again, we're looking to push a little bit too fast. We're not letting this play like marinate a little bit. I like the more slow down approach when we're taking these types of fights, where we're getting paint, you know, we're getting paint in this area, and like we're just getting general paint. And like we're very close, like with the special, we should be able to take the zone back without even having to push them. I think our roller, our big swig is kind of playing probably more aggressive than they should be. They're in a similar spot to you, where they just kind of want to paint and work with the rest of the team. Like win through paint and find opportunities through out painting. But we're like doing a good job of painting, and then at a certain point we abandon that plan and we just like start fighting. And we can't do that. Or if we are going to do it, I want us to have a reason why. And I don't think... Well, so I think the last reason of why we push is because we just use our special, but Super Chump can't be used like that with... Like, Super Chump can be used like that with CDS because of its mobility, but like as a zap, we don't want to just hold forward. It doesn't work the same way as something like missiles. Nice pick. Oh, it's tough. Yeah. Super minor, but it's something that you'll want to be, as you continue to improve, it's something you want to be more aware of. But like, you get this pick, this is all great. We don't want to take a fight here. Whenever we're sitting between cover, like we're sitting between this cover over here, between this cover here, like behind like this cover over here, like we're just sitting in the middle of everything, and like poking really quick and getting the pick on the, I think it was the Dapples or something that like rolled over. That's fine, but we need to immediately like be able to move. We need to know in this situation that like we want to move behind cover. Even if we're moving behind cover for a second and then pushing them again, or if we move behind cover here and we push at them this way, we need to play this a little bit smarter. You know, even if we want to be like more out in the open because there's opportunities for us to get shots, like at least position ourselves closer to this ledge down here. And if we need to drop at any point because both of these people are looking at us, we have that option. But in this situation, when we're just sitting out in the open, we have no options. Like, we're starting to move back, but by the time this person starts hitting us, like, we can't drop out because we're just sitting out in the open. So it's okay to poke for an opportunity, but the second that opportunity ends and like you get that initial pick on the Dapples, it's time for you to move. And we need to ingrain that in our brain. But again, I think all these plays are very good. It's little mistakes that are costing us. Okay. Oof. Yeah, I like us just disengaging. When they use all of those types of resources, like when they use 2 specials that quickly, 3 specials with the Wave Breaker, the fact that we didn't get picked is really, really, really good. Because now we can have a counter push. Yeah, that Aerospray is doing a good job of constantly getting their reef sliders out. Yeah, I would be careful. Yeah, we're pretty damaged. Perfect. Yeah, again, this is why this spot is just so great. Yo, what's up, Ace of Clubs? Hello, hello. Because we can rotate this way, we can potentially push this way. Like I like that I like the way that we're generally positioning. I think that's just at certain points we just start rushing stuff. They are getting so many reef sliders. Yeah, and this is a high pressure situation. I feel very uncomfortable watching this because there aren't clear opportunities for us to be able to do things. I think in these spots we need to try our best to attempt to work with our teammates, but in certain cases our big swig is like just trying to fight on their own. But I definitely think that there's opportunities for us to work with our CDS. You're fighting something. Okay, your team cleaned up the fight. Sometimes it feels like there's fights happening around you and we're not fully aware. Or we're not fully positioning for them. Because yeah, this is a very uncomfortable spot. I don't blame you for trying to force, especially once you have the back, but you know. Again, I like that we're getting paint in these types of areas. Yo, what's up, Jorge? Welcome in, welcome in. Hope you had a nice weekend. Like in this spot, isn't there like a fight happening? Yeah, like there's like a fight happening over here. But like your teammates are also fighting it, but I'd rather us focus some paint like on this side of it just to make sure this person has no way to escape. Like we should be able to expect that 3 of our teammates should be able to help with that. But I would rather us help with that play a little bit. Like I like us getting paint in this area, so that we can't get flanked in the meantime. But in this little small window, get paint over here, potentially get paint up here, potentially throw a bomb in this area to zone out the rest of their team from being able to help potentially. But that play just kind of happens and like we're not sure. And like we do get the initial pick and we're like backing up instead of looking to continue up this play. And like throughout this game, it's just kind of been shown that when we take these more farther back positions, especially after we get a pick and especially after we like if we have a little bit of a numbers advantage, like the enemy team has like just been overpowering us with specials, especially those pesky reef sliders. Like holding zone often isn't enough because they can kind of just break that with the reef slider. And our team isn't setting up to potentially like punish them. I don't know. It's definitely a tough task for you. I think I was thinking more zone rather than any fights. That's fair, but we have to also be flexible enough. Like I think your positioning is allowing you to be very flexible. But in terms of the decision making of like zone versus fight, like that might change in a fraction of a second, or it might be out of your control. Like you might be thinking one thing, but your team is looking to do something else. And at the end of the day, we need to try to link up with our teammates as much as we can. Because yeah, we don't all want to be sitting back. I want to watch part of this game back from a high level perspective. Yeah, like these plays are like really nice. I love this. I love us using the map geometry to find these nice little quick windows to find picks, and we're able to execute. But like in these positions, we have to be willing to like move forward. Yeah, we need to look to move forward. Okay, our teammates get picks. There's still that one on the left. Oh. I'm so scared for your team. Oh no. Oh, they have double reef slider, I just realized. That's why they have so many. Yeah, that's tough. Alright. So very quickly, we're going to speed through it, but I just want to watch a lot of these fights from the overhead. Because I think when we start getting picks, like we're defaulting back to positions on the map where either we're at like a slight disadvantage or we're even. And when we get those picks, we have to a certain degree, we have to start forcing like position. Not that we force fights, but we need to force continuing to paint forward. Yo, what's up, Brick? Hello, hello. Sub 245, let's go. As Mario Kart, right? That's super hype. I hope you're doing well. It's like we get this play. I love this. I love us like trying to push this forward. But we stop that play and we look to like help our teammate, which is fine. But again, we need to aggressive, like we need to understand that we have numbers and we need to be more aggressive to help our teammates. We don't want to back up. And again, part of this is like our comp. I think the way that you're playing it makes a lot of sense if you had like, you know, if you had like a Tetra and you had, I don't know, maybe like a V-Wiper or a Blaster of some sort that's like looking to push forward, or a Tri-Slosh that are like actively looking to push forward. But our team is like very chip heavy. Like we don't really have any good Slayers. So like we have to adjust our role a little bit in this game. And I think the role that you play in this game is generally going to be successful with most comps. But this is a comp that like we have to adapt, and we're playing a little bit more Slayer on average than we would in other matches. Did it start to notice what you're saying about going forward pretty recently? Gotcha. Because you're setting yourself up for good spots, but like we have a numbers advantage and we're all sitting behind the zone. Which like, again, this isn't just you. I think your CDS is playing this fine because they're already over here. But like your roller, your Aerospray, they should be throwing suction bomb or fizzy bombs or just like painting forward. But like y'all should be attacking this area right now. You can attack it this way and cut off this person, get the pick, and then you're fighting a 4v2. But like we have numbers. We should be, you know, maybe threatening. And again, these are all different ideas. There's not a perfect way to play this, but some ideas that I like is that, you know, there's a little bit of cover here. We can play in this zone, like this open area on the right side, especially against their comp where they don't have a ton of range. We have to be careful about Paintbrush. We have to be careful about the Forge Pro. But in general, like they don't have like a ton of range. So like we can kind of use that to our advantage by like, we can, if no one on our team is taking these open spots, and in certain cases, your CDS could be playing this. But if they're not, like feel free, like get this paint over here. If they don't respect it, if they're still fighting over here, you go for this flank. It's huge. But even like you can push up, like maybe you push up to like here and start getting paint here. And like maybe you can't fully push, but you like threaten them with paint. So either they have to back out or they have to start putting resources toward you. And then your team can look to push through that left side. But we kind of like, we need to make the enemy team feel more uncomfortable because y'all are doing a great job of getting the initial picks, but we're not pushing with paint and not making them feel uncomfortable. Again, like we almost do it here, but then we start backing up when we see like Booyah bombs and stuff, which is fine. But again, paint behind in common enemy team cover, you know, and if we're over here, like we can paint behind like this area. If we like move up a little bit, get paint behind here. They're probably not playing back here if they're still fighting for mid, but you know, like if you cut off their paint, so if you cut off their paint, like even just like this little sliver here, like you don't have to like run all the way to get this paint back here, but like if we can control this paint generally, it makes their life so much harder and we can set up for, you know, being able to like fully push. Congrats on SAC. Thank you. Rainbow Road. Yeah. I remember seeing you post about it on Twitter. And yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate that. It was a fun tournament. It was really nice playing with some new people. Nice for our whole team to get together. And I definitely don't think it was our best performance, but we did enough to be able to you know, not fully throw. Wait, Nintendo released a new trailer. Wait, are they doing they're doing a different challenge every day? Oh, no. Okay, it's just a lot. But they showed the summer schedule. Another 2v2, yeah. Going through a bunch of stuff. Someone said all Zipcasters. I'm not sure where that is. What the heck? Oh, that's just the hype one again. Oh yeah, there's all Zipcasters on the, I think it's August 29th. That's fascinating. If anyone's interested. Thank you for the hydrate. That's super neat. All right, anyways. But yeah, like we're just not fully threatening. I'm busy on that day. I'll play on your behalf, sons. Don't you worry. And again, like we have numbers, and I love the way that, like, I like that your VDS is playing on these sides, but we need to like threaten this area to support what the CDS is trying to do in these situations. and this our whole team is just playing too far back. Again, the comp that y'all have is like very, you would have to be like thoughtful about the team comp as a whole and understand like you might have to be more Slayer heavy than you would in other matches. Again, I think the way that you're playing works in a lot of situations, but this comp specifically here, it just makes it very awkward. You can see your CDS is trying so hard to like go for plays, and we're just not fully committing. Because we go back to help with this person, but we could also like, you know, we can break open the map in this situation. Again, I don't think this plays bad, but it goes back to like, if no one's ever going to push forward, then we're never going to take control. And then every time they get a reef slider down these lanes, like it's going to throw off everything that we do. I've started to play Zap more. I'm being too passive, only focusing on paint. If there's a fight next to me or an obvious take, then I take it, but it's more supportive than how I used to play. Yeah, no, you're totally spot on. Like your analysis is exactly like you're one-to-one with what I'm thinking. So yeah, I'm just trying to talk through like what we could be doing in specific scenarios. Because again, we have even numbers here, but we should be able to win on paint. Like we shouldn't be scared to like start moving forward. We should be able to like take this side of mid. We can paint over here. If we're scared to do that, then like take this left approach. Sit here, you know, potentially look to push their plat, potentially look to flank this person in mid if they're not watching you. But we need to be doing some stuff, and we're defaulting, and we're not trying to do much more than sitting on our plat. And again, other comps, this might not be a problem, but with our comp, it's definitely a bit of a problem. Dizzy's insane. Yeah, Dizzy's, I give a lot of props and kudos to Dizzy, because we've been having to play with a lot of like subs and stuff lately. It's just like it's been really hard for us to get 4 people out of our core roster, just IRL and scheduling and everything. Like it's been really tough. And a lot of times when we play with +1s, which it's hard to be the one person that's not on the team. But one thing that if you are like subbing in, or if you are trying out for a team, or if you are, you know, that one extra person, sometimes it can be very helpful to like still be in the conversation and don't feel like your voice doesn't matter or like you should be told what to do. Like taking some initiative is really important. And Dizzy did a wonderful job of like being very receptive to our game plan, but very much like injecting themselves into what we're trying to do and like making the most out of the way that they play. Dizzy was wonderful. Obviously their overall slaying skills, super good. Their Trizukas were unreal, actually unreal. But just the communication during the matches, between matches, they were a wonderful person to play with. And I think hopefully they should be able to play with us for the SAC finals in a couple of weeks. So if so, it would be sick. Get her in +2. I mean, I'm surprised that she's not already there. TBH. But yeah, it made, oh yeah, we're gonna keep on the overhead. Yeah, it made that whole tournament just feel a lot easier. They were, you can tell how much experience that they've had on like other, like playing with successful players, playing with successful teams. Like they were very comfortable in a very uncomfortable environment of being a sub for a team. And it made that whole tournament very easy for us. Sub with us a lot. Gotcha. That's super sick. Yeah, and again, we took that fight there because I think you felt like you needed to go, which like you're not wrong, but we ended up forcing a little bit too hard. And like in this spot, playing on our plat makes sense because they have full mid control. Got you in the +3 scrims. Nice. And again, we have numbers. We should be able to take their plot in this situation. Which again, some of this is like your teammates. You should be able to jump in, and y'all should be able to still be able to Like, you should still be able to push them with like your paint right now. We're too quick to start moving backwards. And like if we're uncomfortable moving forward at them, like take an alternative route. I know these maps aren't the biggest maps in the world, but there's so many like flank routes on these maps. It's silly to say, I know, because it's not like it's flank in quotes, you know, but yeah, there's a lot of alternative ways to approach the enemy and still have the same effect as what a flank would be. All routes. That's fair. I would still call them flanks contextually within the game, but I know what you mean. But just throughout the course of this game, even when we have advantages, because even if it's a 2v2, like you should be able to get a lot of, like you should be able to outpaint these people over here. And you should be able to force the enemy team back a little bit with your ability to paint as a zap. It's a tough skill because if you mess it up, then you just like die. But yeah. Because yeah, we're just playing slow and like we have all the opportunity to move forward up until they use reef sliders. And because we're all positioning in the same way, they get a ton of value out of the reef slider. And our team staggers a little bit. This is, I think, where we get the... Yeah, we get super chump out over here. And then we kind of force, which feels uncomfortable, but I think this is like a very reasonable play. I think you set up moving forward there really well. And I think your team appreciates you for that. But yeah, like we're backing up. Like our team's trying to push and like we backed up to our plat and stuff. And we need to be more proactive. We have to be more comfortable sitting in mid or like sitting on these like uninkables with the intention, like drop if we need to, you know, get behind cover if we need to, but we should be more comfortable with like sharing the same space as the enemy as long as we're sitting near cover. We're going from one extreme to the other. Again, I really love this angle that you get on the paintbrush. Super sick. Okay, yeah, we should be looking to take their plot at this spot. And again, like we just get to a point where we like try to force. Like we choose the wrong time to push at them versus like immediately getting the pick. Like we need to instill it in our routine of like if we start getting picks, we just something within us needs to say, hey, it's time for us to move forward. You know, how do we do it? Which path we take? You know, who we start targeting. You're not gonna develop that until you get more reps. But the first step of improving is like, oh, we have numbers. It's time for me to move forward. Does that mean we have to take a fight? No, but it means that we need to at least start painting forward and looking for opportunities to move forward or look for opportunities to bully the enemy team. Like early on in the game when you get picks and like you start pushing forward and start pushing onto the paintbrush, like, you know, you miss out on the window and you end up backing up the safety, but like that whole flow is like perfect, you know. Oh, we get a pick, I'm moving forward. Oh, I can't get the pick, I have to move back. Totally fine. But after that happens, you know, look to paint on the sides, look to paint on mid, like look to continue to get value out of your numbers. Because part of the value of playing Zap is that you can paint and you can fight from very safe distances. And on top of that, you're a lightweight weapon, so you get to move like way faster than most weapons in the game. But we don't get that value until we actually do it. I think what I'm taking from this is I really need to be thinking more about being the output in comparison to the enemy, range values, what I could be doing. And then I should be holding a lot more space than I am. Yeah, holding space is definitely probably, I think that's probably the best way to transition. I like the way that you phrase it. Hold space. I would say slash advance. Like advance forward with an advantage. So when you have an advantage, look to like move forward. I think you're doing a good job of holding space when like when sitting on here makes sense because your team is getting pushed. I think you're very comfortable in these spots. I think when you're losing the fight and the enemy team's pushing you, I actually think you do a very good job of holding space. And that's where you like come up with these little creative plays to catch someone that's trying to push, like you catch them off guard. This is all like, I think it's mainly when your team should be moving forward. I think you're missing out on these windows to move forward. And again, part of this flow, so move forward. If you can't move forward, paint forward. If you can't paint forward, look for space on sides, and some people might put sides on in quotes because there aren't a lot of sides on this map. But and I think in this game, like this looking for space on the sides, I think your CDS actually did a really good job of like rotating over here. And like they were trying their hardest in this area to like take fights with people over here. They just had like they were playing it wonderfully. They were staying alive. There's just no one else on your team that was like looking to follow up. You do a whole stream on a person's match? I probably do a whole stream on like 3 people's match. Realistically. CDS was probably MVP. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't want to undervalue what you did. The passive parts and the staying alive, and you know, in certain spots, like when you use your super jump over here, when you're looking to like push forward, you know, like you gave space for your team to be able to make plays. I don't want to discount what you did this game because you did a really good job. But there's a very unique role in this game where like your team does a lot of chip and they can't really slay for themselves, and you have to be that role for your team. That was probably like your inability to adapt to the role that was most needed from you was probably the worst. Not worst. It's not. It's just like it's the thing that we could improve the most on. But I think the more supporty, just staying alive, like you played the anchor support role like very, very well this game. So your team needed you to move forward, and like you said, especially when your CDS was trying to push on the sides, they can't do it themselves. They need something else to move forward with. And part of this, I think we need to be better at painting over cover with small advantages. So when we have an advantage, we need to figure out like how do we actually like look to move forward? And I think the very beginning is probably the best. It's a good representation. So it's like, okay, we get this pick initially. How do we take the advantage? You're like, oh, I see someone over here. I can look to push this person, and like that's great. This is a good representation of like how we move forward in a 4v3. This person gets to a point where it's like, okay, I can't advance on them because they have their range. Oops. So now the next thing is like, how do we advance now? Okay, this route over here, this is cut off. You know, at least for a few seconds. So like, what do we do now? And you default to this very passive approach instead of being very active. And we need to err on the side of being more active. I'd rather us move forward and get punished by this person or punished by this person, and then we can learn over time. But we can't be scared to move forward because that's how like this whole place happens. And again, we have numbers here. Completely new situation. We have numbers. How do we move forward? We see 2 people in their plot, so I feel uncomfortable moving forward because the pro can just push us. That's totally fair. But again, we can look to push the sides. we can look to, get paint over this cover, get paint over this cover. Once you get on the plat, you get paint behind, the actual plat itself, and it's really important. But push them out of these spots. If they want to, the important thing about painting behind the cover is that if these people want to hold the plat position and you've painted those spots, either they have to waste their time to paint, or they have to sit out in the open in order to take these fights. And that's what we want to do. Because if they have to sit out in the open, then we can just start forcing from 2 different directions. And even if we trade, we're still going to get that advantage. But this is we have to set up these force opportunities. And painting behind cover is such an important concept that no one talks about. A lot of people just naturally do it, it's not like a big brain play, but it's just something that people need to leverage more consistently. And you'll get a ton of value over time. So, yeah, it's kind of the main thing, is just really when we don't have the full wipe and we can't just move forward for free, or if there's one person left where we know without a doubt that we're gonna have any issues moving forward, it's those spots where we get the initial pick and we don't know how to force the enemy team into awkward decisions. We just respect their space and allow them to exist. And then they can start using specials, and they get very comfortable in disadvantageous spots. And I would say for most of this game, your team was in control. And the reason why these numbers are the way that they are is because we didn't leverage our control. The only time we took fights in this game, not all the only, but the majority of times that we took fights is immediately after their reef slating. Or they're getting a Booyah Bomb out. We're waiting for them to run at us, and they're only running at us when they use their specials. And that's why we have these ridiculously high paint numbers and very mediocre stats. 9 super jump is not mediocre, but just the overall KA stuff. So that's probably the biggest thing that I would say is when you get an advantage, or when you get a pick and it's a 4v3 or something, or a 3v2, anytime where you have an advantage, something in your brain has to tell you, even if I'm uncomfortable moving forward, I know that I need to move forward. What do I do when I move forward? I don't know. And that's where you can start thinking about, okay, getting paint over cover, looking to throw bombs, force them out of certain positions, and maybe try to push a certain part of the map. Or maybe they're not even looking at a certain part of the map and you just rotate over there. This helps with every mode. Yeah, definitely every mode. But we just need to get into the habit. The game gets so much easier when you're able to force the enemy team into awkward spots. And in order to improve on that skill, you have to put yourself in those spots. And when you put yourself in those spots, when you haven't put yourself in those spots before, it's going to feel very awkward. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. That's totally fine. That's totally par for the course. The only way for you to improve is to be uncomfortable, know what you're doing is the right play, and you should be pretty confident that if we have a numbers advantage, I'm pretty confident in order to move forward. What I do when I'm moving forward or painting forward, which usually painting forward allows you to start moving forward. That's that's kind of the big thing there. So yeah, I'm definitely interested in the way that you continue to play the game. I would love to see you kind of work on this and submit another review in a couple weeks, a week, 2 weeks. Give yourself some time to really at the very least, the next time that I see a review, I want you to put yourself in those awkward spots. But if you give yourself a week of playing, if you're able to play every day or at least a couple of sessions, then you're able to kind of start working on the decision making when you get into those spots. But as someone that has a hard time moving forward, this is something that me specifically is I'm trying to improve this myself. I see a lot of smart decision making on your part, but we're terrified of moving forward. We only move forward because something is okay, it's time for us to move forward, and we're not doing it at the right times. We wait so long and we miss those we miss the windows where we can push, and at a certain point it's oh man, we missed an opportunity, so I need to just do something else instead. And that's where you start taking these random fights that are not good for you, and then you end up understandably getting spotted. But yeah, I think you have the right, again, I think you have the right mentality. It's just performing in those certain windows when you have an advantage. Because the way that you play will win in a lot of scenarios, even if you don't capitalize on those aggressive plays. And even when you are the supportive player, this is the one distinction I do want to make. Even if you can win as the support anchor, no matter what match you're in, when you have an advantage, you should always look to like continue to push forward. And continue to like create space, make those opportunities for yourself, for your teammates. You should always be trying to do that. But certain matches, you'll be less, like your team won't need it as much as in other matches, but it's always helpful. And regardless of the comp, you should be trying to do this when you can. You know, you may not have to be the one that's like the first one taking a fight. You may have a better weapon on your team that can actually take the fights. But, you know, getting bombs, getting paint, forcing the enemy team to be in awkward spots, all of that is something you can do every single time that you play the game. But just like through the conversations we've had in chat, I'm very confident that you'll be able to implement these things, and you will be able to continue to improve. I believe this is open, right? And I think because this is Leon. I think this is G-Docto. And I believe that they already left, but they didn't specifically mention that they wanted to wait, so we'll continue through. So this is S rank. Is this open? I didn't even look. Open, yeah. So S rank. Playing Clemplets on Umami. Lots of Twitter. Oh yeah, wait, what Twitter drama? X.com. Well, I don't, that sounds dangerous. I don't know if I would suggest going to X.com. But it is funny that they've like changed. Oh my god. My headband. Oh, I need a haircut. Alright, anyways. So. I'll ping them anyways, but I'm pretty sure that they are sleeping, so maybe I shouldn't ping them. I at least want to let them know that if they, you know, whenever they wake up, they'll have a VOD coming their way. Anyways. So we are Squiffy. On this map, I think mid-range is just generally pretty good on this map. Long range is good as well. But there's a lot of interesting angles that you can set up for opportunities. As a Squiffer, I'd probably look to... like, we can fight in mid. Like, this mid fight over this long area is really nice. We can also, like, sneak our way, like, on the outskirts of the map. And take, like, more open fights. Same thing on this other side as well. So... the main thing, or we can like play like any cover we can play behind, because there's generally like a lot of openness wherever these covers are. So like you're playing over this, playing by this, playing behind this, this, you know, like all these areas are opportunities for us to get value out of our mid-range as a Squiffer. Because when we look at these comps, like if we can keep distance, I think we win at every fight except for the Tri-Stringer specifically. So that's the big thing that I would recommend for us to leverage on this map, is try to keep these open lanes and look for opportunities to... oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, I don't really know why people are as interested in that. Okay, I guess it's like kind of an entertaining moment because like over time, both of these people are very influential people in the community. But it's just like, I don't know. I don't like when people get into drama for the sake of drama. Because things end up being a bigger deal than they should ever be. But I don't know. I always say it. Competitive players love doing everything. Like they love doing anything except for like learning how to play the game. They spend so much energy on like things that just do not matter instead of like trying to learn the game or like help teach others how to play the game. And then there's also just like the human aspect of like, you know, how do these people feel about having to like see this stuff, you know? Just like why? It's I don't know. I was a it's one of the hardest things, and I don't actually know the answer, but you know, I was a 16-year-old on the internet at some point in my life, or a 14-year-old, or you know, Splatoon players could be 12, 13. I don't know, but most of them are somewhere between 12 and 17, 18, realistically. Like I was on the internet on those ages, and it's like, you know, it's very easy to get swept up in that stuff and think it like, you know, you're kind of during your edgy phase and it's like, oh man, like, oh, this is so embarrassing or so funny because, you know, it's whatever. But it's like as you get older, you'll realize how cringy you are for like interacting and engaging with this stuff. But the other part of it is like, I feel like the internet as a whole, like, should be able to learn these lessons a lot faster because like there's like a history, like we've gone through this. So like I feel like younger people should like to a certain degree, like they're gonna like teenagers are gonna be teenagers and they're gonna engage with stupid stuff just because that's just how that's just how human nature works. But I feel like the internet should also be more mature as a whole. Like we should have learned these lessons and like not do this. Like there's certain parts of the internet where we are like that, you know, like don't give out your personal information to like strangers and stuff, and like don't, you know, engage in weird conversations, especially if you're underage. Like, but I don't know. I it's surprising to me that people still like engage in this stuff. But the unfortunate thing nowadays is the fact that people can monetize like engaging in this type of drama stuff. Like some people, the social currency of getting likes and interactions, like to some people that's just enough, even if they're not getting paid. But you know, whether it be through YouTube videos or whether it be through like tweets. I think if you have like if you're, which I don't think anyone had like Twitter Blue or whatever, but I think if you like pay for Twitter, you like can get paid for advertisement if you like, you know, like I wouldn't shouldn't even say this, but I wonder like if you were like if you did just try to engage in all the Twitter drama, even in like the Splatoon community, I wonder how much money you could make of just like stoking fires and just like constantly engaging in like controversy. But yeah. And I mean if you are like it's hard to say because like if you just want to exist on the internet and like interact with people in the communities that you care about, like you shouldn't have to deal with it. But realistically, and it's easier said than done because you know I'm not someone that gets a bunch of interaction like this, so it's easy for me to say. But like you know, people are gonna find another dumb thing to talk about in like a day or two. So just don't engage with it, and then it'll be over because people will have something new to farm content about. But it's annoying that it even happens in the first place. But for better or worse, I feel like Chara's just had to endure a lot of stuff to where even when the stuff happens, it's like, you know, he shouldn't have to prepare for it, but I feel like he probably is just like been there, done that kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know. Don't if you engage in that stuff, like don't just don't. 19 and 6, holy. Yeah, the biggest thing is the consistency, but 19 and 6 is a heck of a game. We love to hear it. So no one should pick Team Fame. I'm picking Team Fame. I think about Team Fame in the Splatfest as like a legacy thing. Because couldn't Team Love be the same thing where people adore you so much that they like don't respect your boundaries? You know? Like I just think of Team Fame as like, oh yeah, like you did such impressive work in whatever thing you put your time into that like you leave a legacy behind. Your work is going to be in the history books. Which, you know, there's still problematic pieces to that, but I don't know. I think people think about love in like a very optimistic approach and not the dystopian ways that it gets leveraged now, especially on social media and everything. I think Fame gets a bad rap, but I don't know. I also just want to make the Splatfest more entertaining, you know? But I think there's a case for Fame that yeah, I'm with you, Chubbs. I'm also welcome in, but I'm literally in the same boat as you. And I'm justifying it and coping with it by giving a more positive approach. Because everyone else is very rose-tinted glasses when it comes to the other ones. I was gonna pick Money. Let's go. You know why? I don't know. The Mr. Krabs Club. Alright. Also welcome in Drifting Balloons. I don't know if you're a bot, because I don't know what the string of characters are. But if you are human and accidentally typed a bunch of stuff, I've done that before. But welcome in. Guess Twitter hasn't changed. Yeah, basically. Chargers are hard to fight as Inzap? Yeah, you can't fight a Charger as an Inzap. You just like do other things. Like, especially the Gray Zap in this game, like you don't have the resources to deal with it. If you're able to take enough space forward, you can throw suction bombs to zone them off of certain areas that they want to get value on. But that's where like it goes back to your comp. Like you need that. If you're playing in competitive and if you're playing against a Charger, like you need to have like a well-balanced comp should have some tools, whether it be the sub weapons or the specials or whatever. You should have something to like handle Charger. If you don't do that, then you like failed before the game even started. Yellow team for my favorite. Honestly fair. Honestly fair. So, anyways, yeah, Clan Blitz again playing in the open or like playing in open lanes and always having cover near you or being able to drop into cover is like really, really important. Again, Tri-Stringer is going to be pretty annoying because they can punish what we're trying to do and they outrange and can hit over cover and kind of compromise the game plan that we have. So, you know, using bubble in spots where we can inject ourselves into a nice position and not have to worry about Tri-Stringer is really good. Also, just in Clan Blitz in general, getting a bubble under the basket so that your team can score is also really strong. But you need picks in order to do that. We have a pretty aggressive comp to play with, so we should be able to continually like move with our team. We might have a little bit of a hard time breaking in back into the map if we start losing control, but I kind of see us as the more aggressive comp. But we'll see how we play it. Again, I like taking mid. I think we can just play on top of mid. Yeah, I think we just play on top of mid. Like, this is where we play on top of mid. We can get a point sensor, like, on their side. And if there's no one in the point sensor, then we can more confidently move forward. Fortunately, we get the trade, so we know that we're chilling. But nice shot, but we could be taking those same shots from the safety of top mid. I don't think we need to drop from the ledge on that spot. Huh? Nice shots behind cover. Unfortunately, we don't get the picks, but also nice pick there. Could get bubble down. Yeah, it's fine. Now your team should be able to start pushing through. Oh no. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about the power clam in this spot. I would just focus on finding those picks. Get the picks first and figure out the clam, but overall this is a very nice start. I think so far there's been a couple of opportunities where we're taking fights closer than we need to. Like in this spot, our team has no clams. So when these people start dropping, we should be looking to move back because they're going to continue running at us. We should be moving back to keep our max range instead of like trying to move forward and like take a fight with these people. Because these people are going to move this way anyways, so like they're going to run into our range regardless. But we give this Blingza an opportunity to one-shot us when they should basically never have that opportunity. Otherwise, this whole push is, you know, very solid. New PB, nice, nice. Yeah, almost a sub 20 or 245. I believe. But we take PBs all day. Again, this type of spot, point sensor over here is just very strong. It prevents them from wanting to jump up on this ledge because people don't want to get marked. But it also gives us the information we need to be able to move forward confidently. This is where we want to be getting those point sensors, which that's good. I think we probably keep it a little bit closer to the ledge, but again, the idea there is like totally fine. Nice shot. Probably don't need to be moving as far back. This is like similar to Soup's replay from before, where like our team has an advantage and our team is the more aggressive team. So like once we get those 2 picks, we move forward. This point sensor I like a lot better. We probably can move it back slightly, but this is like effectively exactly what I want in a point sensor. Knowing this person's here, like once this person starts moving back, you know, if they stay here, our teammates are going to collapse on them. But if they start moving back, then that gives us confidence to where we can start moving forward. So this is why this point sensor is like so important. Because this gives, see, they're moving, like we can see that they move back. So now we should be able to take this area for free. And we can, like, sitting up here is such a strong position for us. And that point sensor gives us the safety as long as we move fast. If we don't move fast, then we miss out on that opportunity and we have to throw another point sensor down in order to get that info. But we should be more confident in front in this spot. We got the info we needed. But, yeah. With a lead like this, like we don't have to force, but just in general, like best practices. These angles are fine. That's tough. Love Sensor and Squiffer so much. I think Sensor gets undervalued in this game. I think it's actually like really strong. Like it's a piece to the puzzle. Like in a vacuum, Sensor isn't that strong because it doesn't do a whole it doesn't do a whole lot just by itself. But in the context of an entire team, I think point sensor is like very nice to have. Whenever Sun plays heavy, like the V heavy, and has a point sensor, I love it. Usually he'll run well, actually recently he's been running ballpoint, but sometimes he'll run heavy on like a flounder or something where like point sensor helps a ton. But I think it's actually very, very strong. Double max range, have it next to no in lag. I don't think Reef Slider needs to be that strong. Again, in a vacuum, Reef Slider isn't that great, but like Reef Slider is also not that bad. Like I think it has enough uses at this point. They probably can make it a little bit better. The thing that frustrates me so much about the Splatoon community, and again, other communities do it as well. So it's like, you know, it's not a Splatoon specific problem, but people rank things and like, it's the reason why I hate tier list is that people rank things like in a vacuum, or they only rank it of like the power level of that specific thing, but no special, no sub, no main weapon should ever be evaluated in a vacuum, because things get stronger when they get paired with other things, or when, you know, you can afford a point sensor if you already have like a lot of bums on in your comp and stuff, you know. Or if you have specific weapons that can take advantage or need the point sensor in order to find value. Or in this case, like the point sensor allows us to move forward in specific spots on this map. And it's just like, this type of nuance like can't happen on a tier list, and that's why I hate tier list. I understand they make good content. I understand it's free money if you're a content creator. So I don't blame them at all for like doing them, but they're so unhelpful for anything. And I actually like a case could be made like they can be helpful to certain audiences under the certain context. But that context is never what's actually happened. People think a weapon is viable or not viable because of its placing on a tier list from their favorite content creator. And it's very frustrating. Because then people complain about the meta being only certain things. Not because the things that are like there's things that could work that don't see play because people just dismiss them because they're bad. They're bad in a vacuum. Not thinking that everything like there's 4 weapons in on every team and 4 kits. I don't know. It just yeah, I don't know. I hate it. It's not until someone from which again like even a tier list from like a player like a top player from Japan, like even that I don't love. But at least when they rate things, it's a little bit more contextual based off of like the state of play as a whole and not just like how strong this weapon is in a vacuum. And usually their tier list usually better represent the potential of what a meta could look like. And that allows for more creativity. But again, even then, I still think tier lists are useless. But because we're so tier list heavy and wanting to put things in certain boxes and categories, at least more open-minded tier list. That it's not that they're trying to be nice and like everything's viable, but like there's specific use cases where things are strong and they highlight that in their tier list. And because of that, I respect those lists a little bit more. But yeah, no. It's a pet peeve of mine. I think it does more harm than good. If you're a brand new player and you want to just generally understand, like, like if I'm coming into Splatoon and I'm like, oh man, like I wonder what's like good in the game. Like tier list can be okay for that. Because like, oh yeah, like Zap's good, like Stamper's good, Shot's good. Like it can be good to understand, like, oh yeah, Tri-Slash is good. Like it can be helpful in that context, but if you're not like a brand new player, like I hate when competitive players like look at tier lists and like they have conversations about comps through the lens of a tier list. It makes no sense. And it frustrates me to no end. Anyways, back on topic. Holy, nice shot. Yeah, I would probably not move forward in this situation. We are looking for... We're like that one person on Twitter that goes for funny plays. We shouldn't do that. We should just back out. Like, we knew that the Flings was on the left and we had missiles at us. We should just back up there. I think we're having too much fun going for the 180 plays. Which, if you're trying to have fun, those 180 plays are fine. But if you're trying to win, probably don't do that and focus on staying alive. Doing a good job getting paint there. We're playing on the edge of the enemy paint a little bit too comfortably. Yeah, I don't think we're not close enough to our special to be able to drop off ledge like this, but we do get a pick, which is nice. No, I've had that happen. It happens. That's tough. But yeah, we're trying to solo this whole situation more than we probably should be. I think when we're in potentially scary situations, I think we're playing a little bit too comfortable. Like again, we're running into enemy paint, not knowing where they are. I think we should be more consistent with getting those point sensors down when we are looking to move forward over ledges that we can't see. Because like we're moving in this way. We don't know where these people are. We don't know where this person is. And like we're just running into enemy paint. Like Squiffer isn't a weapon that can like do that. Squiffer can play aggressive, but it needs to know like where its targets are. Point sensors like could actually be really beneficial in this spot. And even if we do get this pick, like it's kind of a heads up 1v1, but like this isn't a consistent spot for us to be in. But even if we do get the pick, we immediately get taken down by this shot because we have nowhere to go. So I don't know if it's because we have like a very nice lead currently, but we're getting a little bit too comfortable making not the greatest plays. And we need to be careful about that. Oof, that's tough. That was a nice shot by them. That's unfortunate. Team did get a pick, so okay. Well, crisis averted. See, now we can start pushing through mid because enemy team's spawning in now. And like, okay, this last person's fighting in mid for whatever reason. Like we can start pushing past mid like confidently without the point sensor because we know that they can't be in those spots. But like we should be focusing our attention like back here. Like it's too dangerous for the enemy team to jump in and like we know where this last tri-stringer is. So like we should be focused back here, not like down here. Like yes, they may drop over here, but we can visually see that. We should be taking more space forward. See, it's like because they were able to funnel out here, now they can be on this left side, but they couldn't be there before. So we'd only need to like use a point sensor over there. I want us to be more deliberate. Nice shot. I want us to be more deliberate with how we're using our resources, how we're using our sub-weapons. Oh, my missiles. Yeah, this game was like a little bit laggy. I don't know if that was on the replay end or that's how the game ended up being, but yeah, we definitely hit some really nice shots this game. But I want us to be a little bit more, a lot more deliberate with how we use our point sensors and make sure that we're taking fights that make sense for us. And like no one on your team was trying to take advantage of middle, so I like that we played around mid. Like I like that we played top mid most of this game because if our teammates aren't taking it, like we should do it. Yo, how do I pronounce your name? Is it Soleil? Soleil? I'm so bad. Soleil? Okay, thank you. Welcome in, Soleil. I think I was named Joy when I followed. Come with inquiries. I am here to answer inquiries. Yo, what's up, Riku? Thank you, thank you, thank you. I was a small part in the overall picture, but it was a fun tournament and was nice to play with Dizzy for the first time. I've only known them by name, but just I've definitely been very respectful of them as a player, and it was cool to be able to play with them. And again, also just very proud of our team of playing as consistent as we could. We definitely have our work cut out in the finals, but I think if we can, mainly me, there was a lot of like really bad chokes that I had, but if we can play a little bit cleaner, I think we have an opportunity to, I mean, we have an opportunity. I think there's a chance for us to win. We're definitely not the favorites of winning the SAC finals, but there's a non-zero chance that we should have an opportunity to win everything. But there's definitely a lot of good teams. I think Red Sun, I think, is still part of it. They're probably the clear favorites. I don't remember who else qualified, but there's a lot. Like, I think every team that qualified is no slouch. I think every team has an opportunity to potentially like win the set. But the one thing that I would say that's favorable for us is like we've played so many different types of weapons. I think our team can flex the current meta quite well with our backline, with some of the other weapons that we play. And again, I can't compliment enough how strong of a player Dizzy is. Their slaying capabilities are unreal. And especially in a meta where a lot of people are trying to use V-Shot, I trust their V-Shot more than probably anyone else that is going to be participating in this tournament. Did I start in S1? I played S1 very casually. I would not say I was a competitive player at all. I reached S rank, and I'm like, oh man, I'm the best at this game. And then I just never played it again. I was not the best at the game. I it was only toward the end. Like I played Splatoon 1 and 2 on launch, but it wasn't until the end of Splatoon 2 that I started taking it seriously and like investing into the competitive community. But I did play so like I had no idea. I didn't understand like the penalties and stuff when I played Splatoon 1. I'm like, why is there like a plot like I don't know. I didn't understand what I was doing. I was just like, oh man, I have a shooting weapon and I'm gonna shoot them. Old friend of mine was an old pro. We're trying to find a little gameplay. Gotcha. Yeah, no, I would be of no help. There's gotta be someone that has some of that stuff. I would imagine old like dude videos and stuff may have some of that, but probably not exactly what you're looking for. You might be you might be able to like ask on like social media or something. Maybe someone can help you find someone that would better know. Something regarding dude? I see. Coach Toon first man. I feel like dude probably could verify if you were able to get a hold of them. That's cool though. But hopefully you're able to get the answers you're looking for or footage that you're looking for. So probably what would be the most important thing? Play from good ranges. If you don't know what good ranges are, because contextually whatever range you should play in is going to change in certain spots. But like your max range is probably a safe bet for you to sit in. Sometimes you can move a little bit more forward, sometimes you can play a little bit farther back. But trying to play max range is definitely yeah, what's up, Slowly? Max range is probably like the default, but sometimes that can change a little bit depending on what you're playing against. You don't have to necessarily be max range to play against like a brush or something or a shot. But what else would I say? Like I play. I guess like don't. I'm gonna say like don't trap yourself. I guess there's certain times where we like push too far into enemy ink, and like there was a spot where we took the rail. And like we literally just sat in enemy ink and we were trying to take like a bunch of fights. There's also another time where we were sitting in mid and we were like moving forward into enemy ink. We knew there was someone in this general area. There's also two people over here, but we weren't really sure where they were at the time. And we're just like pushing into enemy ink. And I think we just died, but even if we got a pick, we still not like a great spot. We're actually wrapping it up now. Sorry. We're wrapping it up. But yeah. And then the last thing I would say is that we can do a better job of predicting enemy movement. Is yours next, Charles? I guess this is your name on. Oh, actually, yours is a little bit farther. I don't think we're gonna be able to get to yours tonight, Chubbs. We'll get to it next stream, which hopefully will be tomorrow. But we're not gonna be able to get to it tonight. But probably tomorrow, if not, whatever the next stream is, we'll definitely get to it. But we might actually call it here because it's getting kind of late for work tomorrow, and I still need to do some stuff. But yeah, when it comes to predicting enemy movement, yo, what's up, Ash? Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It was a I was talking about before, but yeah, just proud of teammates. We've gone through such a, and I'm sure a lot of other competitive players, I'm sure you can resonate with it, but there's so many times where you have good opportunities to upset teams you should be, or like that you shouldn't beat on paper, but you like are outplaying them. Or there might be times where you should be beating teams and then they just outplay you. And it's like, obviously give credit to them, but sometimes you fumble the bag at the very end, and it feels really bad to like feel like this set is yours, and then whether the enemy team makes a great play or we make a bad play potentially, like I think one of the toughest things for our team is that in a lot of situations we kind of choke in certain situations. Not due to nerves or anything, or not due to like, sometimes it can be lack of a game plan, but I think sometimes we just, I don't know, it's hard to say. From sometimes the enemy team just plays really well, but regardless, it's nice that we had a tournament where we played so solid that the one or two times that I think we lost 2 matches. We didn't play a ton of matches because we had a bye in our pool because there's only 3 people in our pool. But yeah, it was nice that we didn't lose a set because of like a choke or something. Although a couple of those sets, especially that semifinals, was we were almost there, and I definitely made some mistakes. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm going to be working on, kind of going into the finals. But yeah, I'm definitely excited. Another thing, I haven't really talked about it too much, but I'm probably going to be a lot more, at least in the near future, I'll probably be a little bit less competitively focused for a lot of different reasons. I'll probably elaborate a little bit, but more than likely the SIC finals will probably be, at least in the short term, it'll be like the last time that I'm like playing like a competitive tournament with the team and everything. I'll still be playing here and there, but I've had a hard time with like scheduling. Life has just been very busy and stuff, and the amount of dedication that is required to be successful on a team that I would expect from teammates, I'm unable to do myself. So yeah, I feel like for a long time we've been due, which again, a lot of teams probably feel that, and valid feelings for sure. But it's nice kind of before taking a little, not a break from Splatoon. I'll still be streaming quite a bit, but I'll talk about it later. But I need like more. My schedule doesn't work currently for as much raw time dedicated that being on a team needs, where you're like stuck in a scrim for a certain amount of time, or you're stuck doing like a tournament for a certain amount of time. Like my schedule just doesn't work with that currently. The same thing happened when I first started working. I played a lot of League of Legends, and like those matches were like an hour long, and like I had to stop playing that game because like I can't dedicate an hour of time where I can't like move from stuff. But like with streaming, if I need to like pop away for 10 or 15 minutes, I'm totally chill to do so. If I'm making videos, I can pop away for a little bit. So I'm still very much invested in the community, and hopefully come Ludi season and everything else, I'll kind of get stuff more situated and I can have more time for that. But I'm in a situation now where like I can't really do anything to its full potential, and it's like I have high standards for myself in certain things that I do, and like I feel like I'm failing on like everything. Like I'm doing okay at everything, but I'm not like excelling or hitting my full potential at anything. And yeah, I need to surround myself with activities that I can be a little bit more ad hoc, and I can do stuff for like little bits of time at a time instead of like being forced for long periods of time. So yeah, that's kind of the long and short. So like sentimentally, the victory means a lot, partially because like going into SAC, one of our goals was to make it to to be able to qualify. And we were potentially looking to be able to qualify through just like points alone. But, you know, getting top 2 meant a lot, and especially obviously winning the whole thing was like really cool. I just, as a team, we've wanted something like this for a while, and you know, before again, everyone else on the team, if I'm assuming they'll probably just, you know, keep competing as normal, and I'm sure they'll continue to be successful. But it means a lot to me to be able to win something with them. It's been a long journey for us. A lot of successes, a lot of unfortunate sets, unfortunate tournaments, so close to beating teams that we would be so proud of, and not quite being able to make it over the finish line. So it was nice. It was nice. But yeah, anyways, that's all I got. Yeah, with Squiffer. This whole work, like this whole flow of like sitting on this side and getting a point sensor over here is like really, really, really good. And I want to see us doing this like more consistently. Sometimes we did this and it just, you know, it forced this person to back up. Where generally they just sit on this wall and just wait for you to push and start pushing you. Because you mark them, they're like, oh, I don't want to be over here anymore. And they start moving back this way. And it allows you to move forward for free. And we did that a couple of times really well. And we always got a lot of value. But we stopped doing it and started taking risky fights. And we just need to be like more disciplined. Discipline. Welcome in, Nia. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, my friend. How are you? How has everything been? Are you still looking for a team, or did you find something? I can't remember. I thought you were on a team and then free agent now, but I don't fully remember. Started your own team? Okay, cool. I was gonna say, I think I saw another tweet recently, but I couldn't remember. That's awesome. So do you have a full roster now, or are you still looking? Because I know starting your own team is very daunting. Okay, gotcha. That Bite was on your team previously, right? I cannot think of what your team name was. Was it Misfits? No, I don't remember. Scheduling tryouts? Yeah, the trial process is miserable. Misfits, gotcha. Couldn't remember the team name, but I thought it was Misfits, but I wasn't fully sure. That's good to hear though. It definitely helps to have someone that's like, that knows you and like y'all are already on the same page. But definitely best of luck. I know people that are looking for teams as a free agent, looking for free agents as a team. Partially myself a little bit recently. But yeah, it's not a fun process. Oh, it can be a fun process, but overall it's very stressful, very time consuming. So yeah, definitely hope the best of luck, and hopefully y'all are able to find people to resonate with. Once you find the people, it's like, it feels awesome. And it makes competitive so rewarding, but yeah. So yeah, I'm just gonna say discipline with approaching the enemy. There's too many times where we were trying to push past missiles when we know that there's enemies waiting on the other side of it. Or like pushing into the enemy team when there's enemy ink like all around. Like these are very preventable, dangerous spots for us to play. And then sometimes you got yourself out of it with a really nice shot. But we can't fully always rely on it, because we want to try to put ourselves on average to be in like good spots. But yeah, it's overall, I think your Squiffer play is actually really good. I think your bubbles were pretty solid, but yeah, we were getting a little bit too, and some of it might have stemmed from having a very big lead, but and like us feeling a little bit too comfortable with a big lead, so we can start making silly plays. But part of improving and part of climbing in solo queue is to try to be as disciplined as we can just throughout. But yeah, overall, about the type of stats that we could have had. I liked our aggression. But this is kind of opposite of the previous review that we watched, where we needed to be more aggressive as the orange zap in the previous game, but in the context of this match, we did not need to be like, our teammates are naturally going to push up, so we don't have to like take overly greedy plays, and like we don't have to fight for low risk plays because our 52 with a wall can do a much better job. Our zap with a bomb can do a much better job. Clash Blaster can do a really good job around cover, around corners, around a bunch of the ledges on the map. And we can enable them with the use of our, with the use of our paint, the threat of our long range, and with our point sensor. Like there's a lot of ways that we can help with that plane of attack, but I don't think we want to be the one that's just like holding forward and like running at them, basically. It adds needless risk to everything as a whole. And that's one of the things that we definitely want to avoid. Yeah, I think that is probably going to be it for tonight. We'll get back into the routine. Again, I was talking about it a little bit ago, but I want to work in more open with you all. I would like to work in more solo queue for myself. Some of the things that I talk about, I want to like talk through them on stream while I'm playing solo queue. So, I've been really enjoying the reviews, but with the time that I have, I think there would also be some benefit to having a little bit of a better balance. Whether it be solo queue, open, reviews, whatever the case is, like I love doing all of it. I love kind of talking with you all, answering questions, asking questions. But finding that better balance is probably stuff that I've been kind of brainstorming a little bit, and y'all have helped with some ideas on how to accomplish that. So I definitely appreciate that. But we'll definitely figure it out. There's a lot of other ideas that I would like to try. Similar to the reviews, but one of the things that I really want to do is go through like some of my own reviews. Would be nice in certain spots, just because I can be very specific about what I was thinking of in certain spots, whether it was good or bad. I really want to go over like top level players. I think especially in the Western scene, I think there's a lot of high level Japanese players that people probably aren't super familiar with. Even if you are like in the competitive scene, you probably, a lot of the popular top players like Kyo and Jared and Madness and Leafy, a lot of them have been streaming recently. Kiver, there's a lot of them. Y'all are probably familiar with a lot of them, but I would like to promote some other Japanese players, and like a lot of the tips that I've gotten from them that certain players do in the West, but maybe not as consistently. Like there's certain things that the consistency is just kind of next level. So I just want to kind of go over that stuff and talk through that with you all. I think it would be an interesting exercise. I don't know how well it'll go, but I think it would be interesting. And I think that's just a lot of what I want to try to do now, is to work on being able to better articulate a lot of different points, and a lot of the process of what it takes to improve. VOD reviews help, and like I like taking time with going over VOD reviews because I think it can help people that are too intimidated or just have never done it before improve their process. But I think watching other people's replays and like, watching a top player or watching a top team and what can we gather from that is something I want to dive into more. Or, I want to play solo queue games myself. And in that solo queue game, if there's a really important concept that can be had, because when I play a little bit off stream, There's a lot of times where I'm like, oh man, I would love to like break this down. And in some cases I might do that in a YouTube video, but I think it's also something that could be fun on stream. So anyways, that's all I got. I talked a lot. Thank you so much for all the conversation, all the congrats for me winning my first mid-level tournament. That was super fun. But anyways, we're gonna raid Bab. Bab's super cool. Bab is a former teammate of mine and probably my best friend in the Splatoon community. So definitely show him some love, show him some support. A lot of wonderful streamers now, but yeah, I will talk to you all soon. Hopefully tomorrow, but we'll see. But later. Do.